Under the glittering spotlight of Hollywood dreams are born, but so are nightmares. Behind the red carpets and million-dollar smiles lies a world of crushing pressure, secret addictions, and shocking downfalls. These are the untold stories of stars who battle demons powerful enough to shatter their fame, fortune, and sometimes their lives. Which of these stories will leave you stunned? Daniel Baldwin, From Scandal to Redemption. In 1998, Daniel Baldwin's life spiraled into chaos when a bizarre incident at New York's Plaza Hotel made headlines. He was found running erratically through the hallways, clearly in the grip of a drug-fueled episode, and was arrested for cocaine possession. That moment wasn't just a tabloid spectacle. It was the breaking point in a struggle that had begun almost a decade earlier, when cocaine first sank its claws into him in 1989. Unlike many in Hollywood, who battled a cocktail of substances, Baldwin's demon was singular yet relentless cocaine. Baldwin's road to recovery was anything but smooth. Over the years, he entered rehab not once, not twice, but 9 times. Each attempt was a desperate swing at freedom, a fight against a force that seemed determined to drag him back. He didn't drink excessively, he didn't chain smoke, and he wasn't chasing pills yet. Cocaine alone was enough to derail his career, damage his relationships, and nearly destroy his life. Still, each relapse taught him something new about the nature of addiction and about himself. Today, Baldwin stands as a survivor, not a victim. He has reclaimed his acting career, but more importantly, has transformed his pain into purpose, working as a rehabilitation coach to help others escape the grip of addiction. His story is proof that even in Hollywood, where second chances are rare and public scrutiny is brutal, redemption is possible for those willing to fight for it. Jeff Conaway, a star fading in the shadows. Jeff Conaway, forever remembered as the charming Kenickie from Grease and the lovable Bobby Wheeler from Taxi, lived a life that seemed golden on the surface, but was plagued by a relentless battle behind the scenes. His charm, talent, and boyish grin masked years of pain, both physical and emotional. That pain began to spiral in the mid-1980s, when a back injury on set introduced him to prescription painkillers, a relationship that would haunt him for the rest of his life. As the years passed, Conaway's addiction deepened. Cocaine, alcohol, and an ever-growing list of prescription drugs became part of his daily existence. His struggles became painfully public when he appeared on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, where viewers witnessed not just his dependency, but also the toxic dynamics with his then-girlfriend, who battled her own addictions. Recovery was an uphill climb, complicated by chronic pain and emotional scars that never fully healed. On May 11, 2011, Conaway was found unconscious, suspected of overdosing on pain medication. Despite medical intervention, he never regained consciousness, passing away just days later at the age of 60. His story remains one of Hollywood's most heartbreaking reminders that even those who bring joy and light to millions can be silently fighting battles that end far too soon. Joanna Moore, the star who lost her way. Joanna Moore was once the picture of Hollywood elegance, a stunning actress who appeared in more than 17 films and over 100 television episodes. Her beauty and talent made her unforgettable on screen, and her marriage to rising star Ryan O'Neal seemed to seal her place among Hollywood's elite. Together they had 2 children, Tatum and Griffin. But while Ryan's career soared, Joanna's life began to spiral into darkness. Behind the glamour, she was quietly battling addiction, a struggle that would eventually consume everything she had worked for. In 1970, Moore sought treatment in hopes of regaining control, but less than a year later, a drunk driving arrest shattered her progress and cost her custody of her children. She moved to a remote ranch, envisioning it as a safe haven for troubled youth. But her daughter Tatum would later describe the home as chaotic, filled with alcohol, amphetamines, and emotional neglect. The promising actress who had once lit up the screen was now fighting a losing battle, trapped in a cycle of substance abuse and heartbreak. Her later years were marked by isolation and deteriorating health worsened by heavy smoking. In 1997, at the age of 63, Joanna Moore died of lung cancer, far from the bright lights that had once embraced her. Her story is a heartbreaking Hollywood cautionary tale, a reminder that fame and beauty can vanish in an instant when addiction takes hold, leaving behind only memories of the star who might have been. Brittany Murphy, the bright flame that burned too fast. Brittany Murphy was a burst of light in early 2000s. Hollywood, her energy infectious, her smile unforgettable. She stole hearts in Clueless, delivered raw emotion in 8 Mile, and even charmed audiences as the voice of Gloria in Happy Feet. But behind the bubbly persona, whispers of trouble began to surface. Her noticeable weight loss sparked concerns, and her whirlwind marriage to Simon Monjack, a controversial figure in her life, only deepened the mystery. Then, in December 2009, tragedy struck. Murphy was found unresponsive in her Los Angeles home. She was just 32 years old. The official cause was listed as pneumonia complicated by anemia, but the toxicology report revealed multiple prescription medications in her system. Friends claimed she had been taking painkillers after cosmetic procedures, a path that has trapped many in dependency. The story took an even darker turn when just 5 months later, Monjack died in the same home under eerily similar circumstances. The shocking double tragedy ignited endless speculation. Was it illness, addiction, or something more sinister? What remains undeniable is that the world lost a rare talent far too soon. Brittany Murphy had the charisma to light up any scene and the heart to connect deeply with audiences. Yet her death left fans with unanswered questions and a haunting sense of what could have been. Even now, her final days are shrouded in the kind of Hollywood mystery that feels stranger and sadder than fiction. Jodie Sweetin, from America's Sweetheart to Survivor. Jodie Sweetin grew up in America's living rooms as the lovable Stephanie Tanner on Full House, radiating innocence and charm. But when the cameras stopped rolling, she faced a battle far darker than anything written into the script. At just 14, she began drinking, and over the next 13 years, her life spiraled into a dangerous cycle of ecstasy, methamphetamine, and crack cocaine. The wholesome girl who once delivered catchphrases on primetime TV was now living a reality marked by chaos and self-destruction. Her breaking point came when she gave a speech at Marquette University while still high after a 2-day binge. The moment became a wake-up call, but recovery was anything but simple. She achieved sobriety in December 2010, only to relapse in 2013 during a difficult separation. Determined not to let her past define her, Sweetin fought her way back again, channeling her pain into purpose. She began working as a clinical logistics coordinator at a Los Angeles rehab center, while studying to become a drug and alcohol counselor, determined to guide others out of the darkness she knew so well. Today, Jodie Sweetin stands as a testament to resilience. Her journey is proof that recovery is not a straight line. It's a fight with victories and setbacks, but also hope. From beloved child star to an advocate for second chances, she's turned her struggles into a lifeline for others. And in doing so, she's redefined her legacy, one of strength, survival, and the courage to keep standing back up. Michael Jackson, the King's final struggle. Michael Jackson was more than a superstar. He was a cultural phenomenon whose music, dance, and vision reshaped entertainment forever. Yet behind the glittering glove and electrifying moonwalk was a man trapped in a dangerous battle with prescription drug dependency. His addiction took root in 1984 after a horrific accident during the filming of a Pepsi commercial left him with severe burns. To manage the pain, doctors prescribed opioids, setting in motion for a reliance that would shadow him for decades. In the last 15 years of his life, Jackson reportedly used up to 19 fake identities to obtain prescription medications. Friends and family staged multiple interventions, but he often refused help, insisting he was fine. Chronic insomnia drove him to seek increasingly risky treatments, including nightly doses of the powerful anesthetic propofol, administered not in a hospital, but in his bedroom. This relentless cycle pushed his health to the brink. On June 25, 2009, the world stopped. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, was gone at just 50 years old, his heart failing after a lethal combination of sedatives and propofol. His personal physician was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter, but no legal outcome could erase the heartbreak. His death remains one of the most shocking moments in music history, a devastating reminder that even the brightest stars can be consumed by the shadows they battle in silence. Elvis Presley, the king who couldn't escape the pain. Elvis Presley, the undisputed king of rock and roll, set the world on fire with his swiveling hips, magnetic voice, and unstoppable charisma. But by the late 1970s, the man who once defined youthful rebellion was struggling under the crushing weight of fame, personal loss, and a growing dependence on prescription drugs. Despite publicly denouncing drug use early in his career, and even receiving a special anti-drug badge from President Nixon, Elvis quietly relied on a dangerous mix of medications to manage chronic pain, insomnia, and the pressures of his relentless schedule. His longtime physician, Dr. Nick Nicopolis, became both caretaker and enabler, reportedly prescribing thousands of pills. At times he replaced them with placebos, but more often he gave in to Elvis's pleas. Friends watched as the once lean, electrifying performer transformed, bloated, fatigued, and far from the vibrant man who had conquered the world stage. The sparkle in his eyes dimmed, and his health declined rapidly. On August 16, 1977, tragedy struck. Elvis was found unresponsive in the bathroom of his Graceland mansion. He was just 42. The toxicology report revealed a lethal cocktail of drugs, confirming what many feared: the king had fallen victim to the very substances he once condemned. His death became a cautionary tale of how even the mightiest icons can be brought down not by rivals or fading fame, but by the private battles they can't win. Mary-Kate Olsen. From child star to private battles. Mary-Kate Olsen. One half of the beloved Olsen twins grew up in front of millions as the adorable Michelle Tanner on Full House. Behind the camera, however, the pressures of fame and a relentless public spotlight began taking a toll. In her teen years, Mary-Kate battled severe self-image issues that spiraled into unhealthy habits, excessive smoking, drinking, and eventually a life-threatening struggle with anorexia. The pressure to maintain a perfect Hollywood appearance only fueled her downward spiral, pushing her toward the party scene where drugs like cocaine and marijuana were within easy reach. Her private struggles became public when her boyfriend, actor Heath Ledger, tragically died from an accidental overdose in 2008. Mary-Kate was reportedly the first person called after his death, and speculation swirled when she sought legal immunity regarding the drugs involved. Soon after, she entered a 6-week rehabilitation program. Officially, the treatment addressed her eating disorder, but many believed it also targeted substance abuse issues. Over the years, Mary-Kate stepped back from acting, focusing instead on building a successful fashion empire alongside her sister Ashley. She embraced a quieter, more private life, trading Hollywood red carpets for the runway world. Her journey from child star to a woman reclaiming control of her life remains a stark reminder that fame doesn't shield anyone from personal demons. In fact, it often makes the battle even harder to win. Oprah Winfrey, the untold battle behind the empire. Oprah Winfrey, a name synonymous with inspiration, empowerment, and unshakable success, built an empire that touched millions. Through the Oprah Winfrey Show films and her magazine, she became a global icon. Yet behind the radiant smile and the aura of confidence, there was a chapter of her life few could have imagined. In a 1995 episode of her show dedicated to women battling drug addiction, Oprah stunned her audience by admitting she had faced her own struggle in her early 20s, an addiction to crack cocaine. This deeply personal revelation shocked fans, and even her guest that day, who couldn't believe the queen of talk shows had walked such a dark path. Oprah explained that her substance abuse was tied to a toxic and destructive relationship. The drug wasn't just a chemical dependency. It became a chain binding her to someone who drained her self-worth. Looking back, she described it as one of the biggest mistakes of her life, not just the drug use, but surrendering her power to another person. What makes Oprah's story extraordinary is not the fall, but the rise. She overcame the addiction, rebuilt her life, and transformed her pain into a source of strength. Today, her legacy isn't defined by that dark chapter. It's defined by how she faced it, conquered it, and used it to connect with others on a human level. Her story is a powerful reminder that even the most influential figures can stumble, but it's what you do after the fall that truly matters. Mickey Rooney, the Golden Boy's hidden struggle. Mickey Rooney, one of Hollywood's most enduring stars, rose to fame with his boundless energy, quick wit, and unforgettable charm. Audiences adored him, especially in his iconic films alongside Judy Garland, where he embodied the spirit of optimism and showmanship. On screen, he was the Golden Boy, funny, lovable, and unstoppable. But behind the curtain, Rooney's real life told a different, far darker story. In his later years, Rooney reportedly struggled with a severe addiction to sleeping pills. According to his stepson, Chris Aber, the habit was so intense that picking up his weekly prescriptions required an entire shopping bag to carry them. The medication meant to bring rest, instead fueled mood swings and unpredictable behavior, straining relationships and creating chaos in his private life. Despite rumors that MGM fed him drugs as a young star, Rooney denied it, but the weight of his later life dependency was undeniable to those close to him. This sharp contrast between the beloved entertainer on stage and the troubled man at home paints a haunting picture of fame's hidden cost. Rooney's story is a reminder that the bright lights of Hollywood can often cast the deepest shadows. His life remains both a testament to extraordinary talent and a cautionary tale of the personal battles even legends must fight. Do you believe Hollywood protects its stars or pushes them closer to the edge? Judy Garland, the girl who never got to rest. Judy Garland, forever immortalized as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, was the picture of magic innocence and charm. But behind her smile was a life shaped and ultimately broken by the crushing weight of early fame. Signed to MGM as a teenager, she was subjected to strict diets, relentless filming schedules, and an inhumane routine that involved being given pep pills to stay awake and sedatives to sleep. By the time she was just 17, Judy was already trapped in a cycle of chemical dependency that would follow her for the rest of her life. The studio's grip on her life was suffocating. Garland later revealed how she and her co-star Mickey Rooney were fed pills daily, their well-being sacrificed for box office success. Her years at MGM drained her emotionally and physically, pushing her toward repeated nervous breakdowns. Despite her deteriorating health, she remained the studio's hardest-working star, delivering unforgettable performances that defined an era, while privately battling loneliness, exhaustion, and a dependency she could never fully escape. By the late 1960s, overwork, financial troubles, and her long fight with addiction had taken their toll. On June 22, 1969, at just 47 years old, Garland was found dead in London from an accidental overdose. The world mourned the loss of a once-in-a-generation talent whose brilliance shone even as her personal life crumbled. Her story endures as one of Hollywood's most haunting tragedies, a reminder of the cost of relentless pressure in the pursuit of perfection. David O. Selznick, the genius who burned the candle at both ends. David O. Selznick, the mastermind behind Gone with the Wind, created a film that shattered box office records, claimed 10 Oscars, and cemented itself as one of Hollywood's greatest triumphs. But behind the glamour of that success was a man running on something far more dangerous than ambition: Benzedrine. His use of the stimulant was no secret in Hollywood. It became legend. Selznick was known to crush tablets and lick the powder from his palm, to push through endless days of production, convinced the drug was the secret to sustaining his brilliance. The cost, however, was steep. Fueled by amphetamines, Selznick's perfectionism intensified into obsession. He drove actors, especially actresses, to their limits, demanding take after take, chasing an image only he could see. On set, his energy was electric but volatile, leading to outbursts that left crew members bracing for impact. Working under him meant enduring grueling schedules, sleepless nights, and the weight of his relentless vision. For Selznick, compromise was never an option. Every detail had to be perfect, no matter the toll. When Gone with the Wind debuted, the world hailed it as a masterpiece. Yet behind its glory was the shadow of a man who sacrificed his health, relationships, and peace of mind in pursuit of perfection. Selznick's story remains a Hollywood cautionary tale, a reminder that even the brightest achievements can come at a devastating price, and that behind the magic, there's often a cost the audience will never truly see. Robert Downey Jr., from rock bottom to iron legend. Robert Downey Jr.'s transformation from Hollywood's ultimate bad boy to the face of a billion-dollar franchise is the stuff of legend. In 1996, his downward spiral made national headlines when he was arrested for heroin, cocaine, and an unloaded gun after a traffic stop. Soon after, he was found trespassing in a neighbor's home while completely out of it, earning probation and a stint in rehab. But addiction is relentless. In 1999, a missed drug test sent him to state prison, and just 3 months after his release in 2000, he was arrested again, this time with cocaine and Valium in his possession. For years, it seemed his talent would be forever overshadowed by his personal chaos. Yet something shifted. Downey found the discipline, support, and willpower to fight his demons head-on. Slowly, he rebuilt his career, proving that the spark of brilliance was never gone. It had only been buried. His hard work and resilience paid off so profoundly that California's governor granted him a full pardon, officially closing the chapter on his troubled past. By the time he donned the Iron Man suit, Downey wasn't just portraying a superhero, he had become one in his own right. He turned decades of despair into a story of redemption that continues to inspire millions. As he once said at the Avengers Infinity War premiere, "The past for me was 30 years of dependency, depravity, and despair, otherwise known as an actor prepares. In Hollywood, few comebacks shine brighter." Ryan O'Neal, the troubled heartthrob. Ryan O'Neal rose to fame with unforgettable performances in Peyton Place and Love Story, charming audiences with his good looks and undeniable talent. But behind the Hollywood glow was a deeply fractured personal life defined by addiction, violence, and a family history riddled with chaos. Allegations painted a dark picture. O'Neal's son, Griffin, claimed his father introduced him to cocaine at just 11 years old, a decision he said destroyed his life. The relationship between father and son grew toxic, marred by accusations of abuse, and even an incident where O'Neal allegedly fired a gun at him during an argument. The dysfunction didn't end there. Nearly every member of the O'Neal family wrestled with substance abuse, making their private struggles as notorious as Ryan's film roles. His turbulent romances and volatile behavior became tabloid staples, overshadowing his once glittering career. While his performances remained respected, his off-screen actions left a lasting stain, turning the O'Neal name into a Hollywood cautionary tale. When Ryan O'Neal passed away on December 8, 2023, the news stirred both nostalgia and sadness. He was remembered not only as a talented actor who defined an era, but also as a man whose personal demons often eclipsed his professional achievements. His legacy is one of contrasts: romantic hero on screen, deeply troubled figure off it, and a reminder that fame can magnify both brilliance and brokenness in equal measure. Bruno Mars, a hitmaker's wake-up call. Bruno Mars, the Grammy-winning powerhouse behind hits like Uptown Funk and Just the Way You Are, seemed unstoppable. With his golden voice, magnetic stage presence, and unmatched songwriting talent, he climbed the charts and secured his place among the highest-paid artists in the world. By his mid-20s, he was living the dream world tours, sold-out arenas, and hit after hit. But in 2010, at just 26 years old, his skyrocketing career faced a sudden and dangerous detour. That year, Mars was arrested at the Hard Rock Casino in Las Vegas after being found with a controlled substance. For a star on the rise, the arrest could have been a career-ending scandal. Instead of hiding, Mars took full responsibility, calling it a mistake and agreeing to a plea deal. The terms were clear: stay out of trouble for a year, pay a $2,000 fine, perform 200 hours of community service, and attend counseling. It wasn't just about avoiding legal trouble, it was a moment that forced him to reevaluate his choices and priorities. Looking back, Mars admitted he wasn't completely truthful during the incident, blaming it on youthful misjudgment. But the wake-up call worked. Since then, he stayed laser-focused on his craft, delivering chart-topping singles, electrifying performances, and multiple Super Bowl halftime shows. That one mistake became a turning point, a reminder that even the brightest stars can stumble, but true greatness lies in how you rise after the fall. Zac Efron. From teen idol to survivor. Zac Efron, once the clean-cut heartthrob of High School Musical, seemed to have it all: fame, fortune, and a future wide open. But behind the charming smile and blockbuster roles was a young star quietly spiraling. By the early 2010s, reports of wild partying, multi-day binges, and heavy substance use began to surface. Alcohol and cocaine became part of a lifestyle that threatened to derail everything he had worked for. In 2013, Efron made the life-changing decision to check himself into rehab, confronting his struggles head-on. Recovery wasn't a quick fix. It meant joining Alcoholics Anonymous, working closely with a therapist, and learning to rebuild his life from the inside out. In interviews, he's been candid about the fact that it's a lifelong process, acknowledging that those dark times gave him a deeper appreciation for stability, health, and genuine happiness. Reflecting on his lowest moments, Efron once said, "Without those moments where you feel like you're lowest, it is impossible to appreciate the high." Today, his comeback is more than just physical transformation and box office success. It's about finding peace beyond the spotlight. From teen idol to survivor, Zac Efron has proven that sometimes the bravest role an actor can play is themselves facing their demons and choosing to rise stronger than before. River Phoenix, the bright flame that burned too fast. River Phoenix wasn't just a rising star. He was a rare talent with a natural charisma that made Hollywood believe he was destined for greatness. With critically acclaimed performances in films like Stand By Me and My Own Private Idaho, he seemed poised to become one of the defining actors of his generation. But behind his gentle demeanor and artistry, there were silent battles few truly saw. On October 30th, 1993, after returning to Los Angeles from a film shoot in Utah, Phoenix went out with friends to the Viper Room, a popular nightclub partly owned by Johnny Depp. At some point during the night, he began feeling unwell and told a friend, but his distress wasn't taken seriously. Minutes later, he collapsed outside on the sidewalk, where his girlfriend Samantha Mathis and others desperately tried to save him. Paramedics arrived quickly, but it was too late. At just 23 years old, River Phoenix was pronounced dead in the early hours of Halloween. His sudden passing shook the industry and his fans around the world. Known for his kindness, deep love of music, and dedication to his craft, Phoenix left behind a legacy both inspiring and heartbreaking. He remains a reminder of how fleeting brilliance can be, and how the pressures and temptations of fame can extinguish even the brightest lights far too soon. Fame can build empires, but it can also destroy lives. Behind the glitter and Grammys, some of R&B's brightest stars fell into the darkest trap: addiction. From golden voices silenced too soon to legends undone by their own demons, these stories are shocking, tragic, and unforgettable. Stay with us. What you're about to hear will change the way you see these icons forever. Whitney Houston, the voice that could break glass and break hearts. Whitney Houston wasn't just a singer, she was the singer. A once-in-a-lifetime voice, Rolling Stone ranked her the second greatest vocalist of all time. She sold over 220 million records worldwide, broke barriers in music and film, and gave us songs that still stop us in our tracks. When Whitney sang "I Will Always Love You," she wasn't just performing, she was rewriting the definition of power ballad. But behind the platinum plaques and the perfect pitch was a woman fighting battles no one could see. Childhood trauma haunted her, unresolved and unspoken. The pressure to be flawless weighed on her like a spotlight that never turned off. Even her own community sometimes accused her of selling out or not being black enough, criticism that cut deep. Imagine being one of the greatest voices in history, only to be told you weren't authentic enough. By the 1990s, the cracks began to show. Friends described her as vulnerable, worn down by relentless expectations. Public scrutiny was merciless, tabloids dissecting her every move. And when life got too heavy, Whitney turned to ways of coping that the world would later use against her. In 2012, the world gasped when news broke of her sudden passing at just 48 years old. The official report said it was an accident, complications from heart issues, and substances in her system. But the truth is more complicated than any headline. Whitney didn't just collapse in a hotel room. She collapsed under years of pressure, pain, and a spotlight that refused to dim. Her story is both inspirational and tragic. She had the voice of an angel, yet carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. In the end, Whitney Houston's legacy is more than her struggles. It's her resilience, her groundbreaking success, and her songs that will outlive every scandal. Because even though her life ended too soon, her voice, it will always love you. Rick James, the super freak who lived super wild. Rick James didn't just make funk music, he was funk. With his braids, leather outfits, and an attitude bigger than life, he stormed into the late 70s and 80s with hits like Super Freak and Give It To Me Baby. He wasn't just a performer, he was a cultural explosion. Wherever Rick went, chaos followed, and he loved it. But behind the music and the flamboyance was a man whose life spun out of control, born James Ambrose Johnson Jr. In Buffalo, New York, Rick was destined for music, but not for discipline. He dodged the draft by joining the Navy Reserve, then fled to Canada only to be caught and jailed for desertion. After that rocky start, he rebuilt himself in California, blending rock, funk, and soul into a sound nobody could resist. By the early 80s, Rick James was on top of the world. He had wealth, fame, and fans hanging on every outrageous move. But as his music soared, his lifestyle became just as excessive. Rick didn't believe in moderation, not in music, not in money, and certainly not in partying. When he passed in 2004, the official cause was heart and lung failure worsened by years of poor health. The autopsy revealed a cocktail of substances in his system, but none at fatal levels. It wasn't one single night that took Rick James down. It was a lifetime of living too fast, too wild, and too hard. Still, it would be unfair to define him only by his struggles. Rick was an innovator shaping the sound of funk and inspiring generations of artists. His music, sampled, remixed, and celebrated to this day, proves his lasting mark on pop culture. Rick James once declared himself a super freak, and in many ways he was right. His life was outrageous, his career legendary, and his downfall a warning that even the brightest lights can burn out when they burn too wild. Amy Winehouse, the voice too old for a young soul. Amy Winehouse had the kind of voice that made you stop whatever you were doing. Raspy, soulful, and drenched in pain, it sounded like it belonged to a jazz legend from the 1950s, not a rebellious girl from North London, with a beehive hairdo and eyeliner sharp enough to cut glass. With Back to Black, Amy didn't just make an album. She created a modern classic that still echoes in every coffee shop and late-night playlist. But Amy wasn't just famous for her music. She was famous for living like one of her own lyrics, raw, messy, and unfiltered. From her tattoos to her unapologetic attitude, she carried herself with a defiance that both inspired and alarmed. While her peers carefully crafted polished images, Amy walked out of the house in ballet flats and whatever eyeliner survived the night before. And the world loved her for it. Yet behind the rebellious charm was a storm she couldn't outrun. Her parents split, left scars. She began experimenting, young, skipping school, smoking, writing lyrics full of anger and longing. Success came fast, maybe too fast, and with it came the relentless scrutiny of tabloids eager to capture her worst moments, rehab. She famously sang about not wanting to go. The irony became her anthem. By the time she joined the infamous 27 Club in 2011, fans weren't shocked, but they were devastated. The silence after her passing felt louder than any note she'd ever sung. Her death wasn't just another tragedy. It was a cultural gut punch. Amy Winehouse remains a symbol of brilliance and fragility. Her music proved she was wise beyond her years, but her struggles showed how fragile even the brightest stars can be. She burned fast, she burned bright, and though her life ended too soon, her voice will haunt us forever, smoky, soulful, and unforgettable. Marvin Gaye, the Prince of Motown, the tragedy of a king. Marvin Gaye wasn't just a singer. He was the heartbeat of Motown. His voice was silk, his lyrics were poetry, and his music, What's Going On, Let's Get It On, Sexual Healing, shaped not just R&B, but American culture itself. He was called the Prince of Soul, and for good reason. When Marvin sang, the world listened. But while the world saw a legend, Marvin was living with shadows. His childhood was marked by strict discipline and abuse at the hands of his father, a preacher whose authority loomed like a storm over the family home. That trauma never left him, and as fame grew, so did his paranoia and need for escape. By the 1970s, Marvin had climbed to the top of the charts and was tumbling down behind the scenes. He turned to substances as both comfort and torment. Stories from friends painted a picture of a man reading the Bible with one hand and using with the other, trying to reconcile faith with fear. His downward spiral was as famous as his songs, and fans began to wonder which would win, the music or the madness. And then came the most shocking chapter. In 1984, after years of escalating conflict at home, Marvin's life ended not on stage, but in his own house at the hands of his father. The world reeled. How could the man who gave us so much love die in such violence? Marvin Gaye's story is almost Shakespearean, a genius destroyed by his demons and by the very family ties that shaped him. His music still heals, still moves, still inspires. But his life reminds us that even the smoothest voices can come from the most troubled souls. When you hear Marvin croon, "Ain't no mountain high enough," remember. He conquered music, but the mountains inside him proved too steep to climb. Teena Marie, the Ivory Queen of Soul. If you closed your eyes and listened, you'd swear she was a black woman raised in the heart of Motown. Open your eyes, and you'd see Teena Marie, a petite white woman from California, who earned the nickname the Ivory Queen of Soul. Her voice was fire, her stage presence electric, and her ability to blend funk, R&B, and soul made her one of the most unique forces of her time. Teena's career took off under Motown, where she broke barriers and surprised critics who didn't believe someone who looked like her could sound like that. Hits like Lover Girl and Ooh La 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 cemented her as a powerhouse in the 80s. She was nominated for multiple Grammys, toured the world, and even earned the admiration and deep friendship of the legendary Rick James. Together they created iconic tracks and scandalous headlines, a duo as combustible as they were talented. But behind the powerhouse vocals was a woman battling her own demons. After Rick James's death in 2004, Teena admitted she fell into dependency on prescription painkillers, specifically Vicodin. It was her way of coping with grief exhaustion and the physical demands of performing. For a year, she struggled quietly, even as she kept delivering music that fans adored. By 2008, Teena proudly shared that she had fought her way back, breaking free from her addiction and returning to her music with clarity and purpose. She even signed with Cash Money Records, proving that her talent was timeless and her influence still relevant. Sadly, her story ended too soon. In 2010, Teena passed away in her sleep at just 54 years old, leaving fans heartbroken. But unlike many on this list, her legacy wasn't overshadowed by her struggles. Instead, she's remembered as a trailblazer who crossed boundaries and redefined soul music for a new generation. Teena Marie may have been called the Ivory Queen, but her voice carried the weight, depth, and richness of 1,000 souls. And that is how she'll be remembered, not by her battles, but by the music that never stopped moving us. David Ruffin, The Temptation with a Voice and a Curse. If soul music had a crown jewel, it was David Ruffin's raspy, heart-piercing tenor. As the unforgettable lead of The Temptations, he turned songs like My Girl and Ain't Too Proud to Beg into timeless anthems. Rolling Stone would later name him one of the 100 greatest singers of all time, and his stage presence had the power to hypnotize audiences in seconds. But behind the scenes, Ruffin was a storm. Fame fed his ego, and his personal life quickly became as dramatic as the ballads he sang. Stories circulated of diva behavior, showing up late to shows, demanding top billing, even arriving at gigs in a mink coat and Rolls Royce. He was as much a headline as he was a hitmaker. And then came the darker chapter. Alongside the music, Ruffin became entangled in a lifestyle that was as destructive as it was intoxicating. His struggles with dependency pulled him further from the group, the stage, and the fans who adored him. The man who once lifted Motown into the stratosphere was now drifting away, weighed down by demons he couldn't shake. By 1991, the final curtain fell. Ruffin collapsed in Philadelphia after an overdose and was pronounced gone at just 50 years old. To make matters even more painful, reports surfaced that he had been carrying tens of thousands in cash money that mysteriously disappeared. Officially, his passing was ruled accidental, but to those who loved him, it felt like another cruel twist in a life already filled with heartbreak. David Ruffin's story is one of extremes, the soaring highs of a voice that could bring people to tears, and the crushing lows of a man unable to outrun his vices. His legacy is forever etched in the songs that still make us sway, smile, and cry. When you hear My Girl, you're not just listening to a Motown classic. You're hearing the echo of a man whose voice was bigger than his troubles, even if his troubles won in the end. Sam Cooke, the king of soul gone too soon. Before there was Marvin, before there was Stevie, there was Sam Cooke, the man who practically invented soul music. With a velvet smooth voice and movie star charisma, he gave the world hits like You Send Me Cupid and A Change Is Gonna Come. He wasn't just a singer, he was a movement. In just 8 short years, he racked up 29 top 40 hits and became known as the King of Soul. But Sam Cooke wasn't content with just topping charts. He wanted control. He founded his own record label, wrote his own songs, and fought for artists' rights long before it was fashionable. In many ways, he was the blueprint for the modern music mogul, part genius, part visionary, and all ambition. Yet behind the golden voice was a man living on the edge. His personal life was filled with rumors, scandals, and reckless decisions that sometimes threatened to overshadow his music. And then came the night that shocked the world. In December 1964, Cooke was fatally shot at a Los Angeles motel. The official story was that it was a case of self-defense, a justifiable homicide. But even today, questions linger. Why was he there? What really happened? And why did one of the brightest stars in music have to go out in such a murky, tragic way? Sam Cooke's death left a void that no one has truly filled. At just 33, he had already changed the sound of American music forever. His influence lives on in every soul singer, every protest anthem, every artist who dares to take control of their own destiny. Sam sang, "A Change Is Gonna Come." And he was right. He just never got to see how much change his own voice would bring. Donny Hathaway, the soul genius who carried too much weight. If there was ever a voice that felt like home, it was Donny Hathaway's. Rich, warm, overflowing with emotion. His songs like This Christmas Someday, We'll All Be Free, and A Song for You still feel like heartfelt letters sent directly to the soul. Critics called him a soul legend, and fans agreed Donny didn't just sing notes, he bled truth into every lyric. But genius often walks hand in hand with pain. At the height of his career, Donnie was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Doctors prescribed a cocktail of medications, up to 14 different pills a day. At times, the treatment helped, but when he felt better, Donnie would stop taking them, sending him into cycles of stability and collapse. His friends and collaborators, including Roberta Flack, watched helplessly as his brilliance battled his illness. The partnership between Donnie and Roberta gave the world classics like Where Is the Love and The Closer I Get to You. Their chemistry on stage was undeniable, but off-stage, Donnie was struggling to keep his grip on reality. He checked in and out of hospitals, fought through waves of depression, and tried to hold on to the music that was both his gift and his lifeline. Then came January 13th, 1979. Donny Hathaway, just 33 years old, was found dead outside his hotel in New York. The official report said he had fallen from his 15th floor room. The world was stunned. The voice that had promised freedom and healing was silenced far too soon. Donnie's story is heartbreaking because it's unfinished. Who knows what more he could have created if his battles hadn't consumed him? And yet his legacy remains untouchable. His music continues to comfort, inspire, and remind us that even the most fragile souls can leave behind something eternal. When you hear "Someday We'll All Be Free," it feels like Donnie is still singing to us, still hoping, still believing, even if he couldn't find that freedom for himself. Al Green. Love, happiness, and heartbreak. Few voices in R&B can melt you the way Al Green's can. Smooth as honey and as powerful as a preacher's sermon, his hits like "Let's Stay Together," "Love and Happiness," and "Tired of Being Alone" didn't just climb charts, they became part of the American soundtrack. If Marvin Gaye was the Prince of Soul, Al Green was its pastor, blending sensuality with spirituality in a way only he could. But even a golden voice doesn't shield you from pain. At the height of his fame in the 1970s, Al Green's personal life was as dramatic as his music was soothing. Fans saw the smile, the charm, the perfect falsetto. Behind closed doors, things were falling apart. In 1974, tragedy struck in a way no love song could fix. After a volatile relationship, his girlfriend attacked him with a pot of scalding grits, leaving him badly burned. Moments later, she took her own life. The shocking incident left Al shaken to his core, physically scarred and emotionally haunted. It was a turning point. Al retreated from the world of secular fame and turned toward the church. He became a pastor, pouring his soul into gospel music and rebuilding himself through faith. But the pull of the stage was strong. By the 1980s, he found a way to balance both worlds, returning to R&B while still preaching on Sundays. Of course, Al Green's journey wasn't spotless. Fame, fortune, and the temptations that come with them led to struggles with relationships and substance use. But unlike many others on this list, he found a way to step back before it consumed him completely. Today, Al Green stands as both a cautionary tale and an inspiration. His scars tell the story of heartbreak, but his voice still sings of love and redemption. Because if there's one thing Al taught us, it's that even when life burns you, music and maybe faith can help heal the wounds. Tina Turner, the queen who survived the storm. Before she was the queen of rock and roll, Tina Turner was a young woman named Anna Mae Bullock, trying to survive in a marriage that felt more like a prison. With Ike Turner, she created some of the most electrifying performances of the 60s and 70s. Together they gave the world Proud Mary, but behind the curtain, Tina's life was anything but proud. Ike was talented, yes, but also violent, unfaithful, and trapped in his own vices. Tina endured years of abuse, emotional, physical, and mental. She once revealed that at the lowest point in 1968, she swallowed 50 sleeping pills in a desperate attempt to escape. The only reason she survived was because the pills kicked in too early, forcing her into the hospital before the damage was permanent. Even in tragedy, the show had to go on. Still made sure she performed that night, so he could collect the paycheck. But Tina wasn't destined to remain a victim. By the late 70s, she broke free from Ike, walking away from the marriage with nothing but her name. Most people thought her career was finished. Instead, she reinvented herself not as Ike's sidekick, but as a solo powerhouse. What Does Love Got to Do with It became her anthem. And by the 1980s, Tina was bigger than ever, world tours, Grammys, and a place in music history that nobody could take away. Her story is one of resilience. Yes, there were struggles with substances around her, with toxic relationships, with the weight of fame. But Tina Turner proved that survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about reclaiming your power even when the world bets against you. Tina left us in 2023, but her legacy is untouchable. She was fire strength and pure soul wrapped in sequins. When you hear her belt out, "Simply the best, you know," it isn't just a song, it's the truth about who Tina Turner really was. Sly Stone, the funk pioneer who got lost in the groove. If James Brown invented funk, Sly Stone turned it into a revolution. With his band, Sly and the Family Stone, he broke every rule of the 60s, a racially integrated mixed-gender group blending rock, soul, gospel, and psychedelia into a sound the world had never heard before. Dance to the music every day. People, family affair, these weren't just songs, they were anthems of unity and rebellion. But while Sly was changing music forever, his own life was spiraling. By the early 70s, the funk pioneer had traded rehearsal rooms for party rooms, showing up late to gigs, or not at all, with a violin case that didn't carry instruments, but something else entirely. The music slowed down, the chaos sped up, and the band that once symbolized hope and harmony collapsed under the weight of excess. Still, Sly remained a legend. Even as his solo career fizzled, his influence echoed through generations. Prince, Michael Jackson, George Clinton, they all carried pieces of his legacy. But the man himself was slipping further away, caught between genius and self-destruction. By the 2000s, fans were shocked to discover Sly reportedly living out of a van in Los Angeles, a far cry from the glittering stages he once commanded. And yet even then, he was still Sly, eccentric, unpredictable, larger than life in his own way. In 2019, after multiple health scares, he revealed he had finally walked away from the lifestyle that nearly destroyed him. At 80, Sly Stone is proof of both the brilliance and the brutality of fame. His music told us to celebrate life, to embrace unity, to keep dancing. His story, though, is a reminder that even the funkiest grooves can't drown out the demons forever. When you hear Everyday People, remember the message was simple, but the man behind it was anything but. Lauryn Hill, the genius who walked away. In the 90s, Lauryn Hill wasn't just famous, she was untouchable. As the standout star of the Fugees, she helped turn the score into a multi-platinum classic. Then came her solo masterpiece, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. It won 5 Grammys in one night, made her the first woman to achieve that, and cemented her as one of the most powerful voices in hip-hop and soul. She was hailed as the future. But fame is heavy, and Lauryn carried it like a burden. The pressure to live up to her genius, the constant scrutiny, and the chaos of relationships around her all began to take their toll. Fans expected more albums, but instead, they got canceled shows, lateness that became legendary, and rumors of paranoia and breakdowns. At the same time, Lauryn was raising 6 children, battling lawsuits, and facing tax troubles that landed her in headlines for all the wrong reasons. Some called it self-destruction. Others saw it as rebellion, a refusal to let the industry chew her up and spit her out. Lauryn Hill's story isn't just about talent lost. It's about a woman who decided she didn't owe the world her sanity for another platinum plaque. Yes, her career looks messy, erratic, even tragic from the outside. But her impact unquestionable. The miseducation still inspires new generations, proving that even if Lauryn Hill disappeared from the spotlight, her voice never left. She remains a mystery, part legend, part cautionary tale, but always unforgettable. Etta James, at last, but never at peace. When Etta James sang At Last, it sounded like the universe had finally exhaled. That voice, raw, powerful, dripping with emotion, could raise goosebumps on your arms before the first chorus hit. She was more than a singer. She was a survivor, a woman who poured every scar and every triumph into her music. But behind the velvet voice was a turbulent life. Born Jamesetta Hawkins in 1938, she grew up surrounded by instability, bouncing between caregivers and searching for belonging. Music became her escape, and by the 1950s, she was already turning heads with hits like The Wallflower. Soon after came Tell Mama I'd Rather Go Blind, and of course the timeless At Last. Her career should have been nothing but legendary, but Etta's battles were constant. By the mid-60s, she had fallen into heroin addiction. To feed the habit, she resorted to writing bad checks, forging prescriptions, even stealing from friends. The law caught up with her more than once, and jail time became part of her story. Rehabilitation centers followed, though relapse often lurked right behind. Her husband even took the fall for her, once serving years in prison for heroin possession so she wouldn't face harsher punishment. Yet despite the chaos, Etta never lost her voice. In the late 80s, she staged a comeback with 7-Year Itch, reminding the world that no matter how dark her past, her talent was unshakable. Etta James's life was messy, heartbreaking, and beautiful all at once. She was beaten down by her demons, but she never let them erase her gift. When she died in 2012, the world lost a woman who had lived every lyric she ever sang. Play At Last today, and you'll hear it, the sound of a woman who found love in music, even when life gave her everything but peace. Billie Holiday, Lady Day, and the Blues. Before soul, before R&B as we know it, there was Billie Holiday, Lady Day, the woman whose voice could break your heart and stitch it back together in the same breath. Songs like Strange Fruit and God Bless the Child weren't just performances. They were confessions, cries for justice, and echoes of her own pain. Billie didn't just sing jazz and blues, she lived them. Her story, though, was anything but glamorous. Born in 1915 to teenage parents, she grew up in poverty, often neglected, and endured a childhood that no one should have to survive. By her teens, she was already singing in Harlem nightclubs, her smoky, aching voice carrying far beyond the walls of any stage. The world noticed, and soon Billie was a star. But fame came with its own chains. She fell into addiction in the 1940s at the height of her career, and the struggle followed her for the rest of her life. Arrests, jail time, and constant surveillance dogged her every move. Even when she was dying in a hospital bed in 1959, she was placed under arrest for possession. Imagine that, a woman whose songs defined a generation, handcuffed in her final days. Her voice, though, never failed her. Even as her health declined, Billie sang with a depth that no one could match. Her phrasing, her emotion, her ability to bend a note into pure sorrow or joy. It made her an icon, not just in music, but in culture. Billie Holiday died at just 44 years old, but her influence stretches across decades. Every singer who's ever poured heartbreak into a microphone owes her a debt. She was messy, fragile, defiant, and unforgettable. In Hollywood, fame can buy you mansions, luxury cars, and front-row seats to every A-list event. But for some stars, it also came with a permanent VIP pass to the bar. These weren't just casual sippers, they were the life of every party, sometimes even when there wasn't a party. From red carpets to movie sets, they stumbled, slurred, and turned public appearances into unforgettable blooper reels. So grab your drink responsibly as we dive into the wild, messy, and often hilarious world of Hollywood's worst alcohol-fueled legends. Anthony Hopkins, the man who fired his most dangerous co-star. Before Sir Anthony Hopkins became the face of refined menace in The Silence of the Lambs, he was locked in a much messier role, a man drinking his way toward an early exit. In his 20s and 30s, alcohol was less of a pastime and more of a full-time director dictating the script of his life. There were blackouts, reckless choices, and the kind of emptiness that made him wonder if there was even a point to turning the page. Then, in 1975, came his dramatic plot twist. Hopkins quit drinking completely. No gentle fade-out, no slow taper, just a hard cut. It wasn't glamorous, and it certainly wasn't easy, but it was the choice that saved his career and quite possibly his life. Sobriety brought focus, and with focus came the performances that would define him, layered, precise, and unshakably powerful, as if every role was another brick in rebuilding the man behind the camera. Hopkins speaks about those years with a mix of candor and dry wit, the way only a survivor can. He doesn't spin a fairy tale. He calls it what it was, a fight. A fight with himself, with temptation, and with the idea that genius has to come wrapped in chaos. He knows now that's a lie, but back then, it nearly convinced him. The laughter he shares about his past carries an undertone gratitude for getting out alive. To 87, Hopkins stands as proof that you can tear up your old script and start fresh. Addiction doesn't care how brilliant you are, but neither does redemption. The real victory isn't in the awards or the fame, it's in the quiet knowledge that the bottle no longer gets a speaking part in his life story. And for Hopkins, that's the best rewrite of all. Marlon Brando, the genius who couldn't direct his own chaos. Marlon Brando wasn't just a movie star, he was a cinematic earthquake. A streetcar named Desire. The Godfather. His performances didn't just entertain, they redefined acting itself. But behind the brilliance was a man whose relationship with alcohol often turned every set into a high-stakes gamble. For Brando, a drink wasn't just a drink, it was the start of a chain reaction that could send entire productions spiraling. Most infamous example, Mutiny on the Bounty in 1962. Brando's heavy drinking and unpredictable moods turned the shoot into a director's nightmare. Filming dragged on, costs soared, and the man who should have been the production's crown jewel became its greatest liability. He was brilliant on camera, infuriating off it, a combination that left producers tearing their hair out while secretly praying he'd get his act together before the next scene. Alcohol didn't destroy Brando's talent, nothing could, but it chipped away at the professionalism and focus that might have taken him even further. On set, his genius was sometimes overshadowed by arguments, delays, and the tension of never knowing which Marlon would show up, the legend ready to deliver cinematic gold, or the man lost in his own fog. Brando's life is a paradox, proof that raw talent can survive almost anything, but also a warning that it doesn't have to. His career remains one of the most celebrated in history, yet tinged with the question, how much more could he have given us if he'd conquered the bottle sooner? In the end, Brando's story is both a masterclass in artistry and a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the brightest stars can dim when the director's chair in their own life sits empty. Elizabeth Taylor, the Queen of Hollywood and the drama of the decanter. Elizabeth Taylor didn't just rule Hollywood, she owned it. With violet eyes that could stop traffic and a presence that could silence a room, she was beauty, talent, and glamour wrapped in one impossible package. But off-screen, her life often looked less like a fairy tale and more like a soap opera directed by a bartender. At the heart of much of that drama was her fiery love affair with both Richard Burton and alcohol, two forces that fueled and consumed her in equal measure. Their relationship was legendary for its passion and volatility. One minute they were madly in love, the next, they were hurling insults, or in Elizabeth's case, a glass of wine across the Dorchester Hotel dining room. The tabloids feasted on it, painting them as Hollywood's most glamorous disaster couple. And to be fair, they kind of were. Alcohol didn't just add sparkle to their nights. It lit the fuse on their explosions, turning private quarrels into very public spectacles. Taylor's drinking was never just about celebration. It was also escape. Beneath the diamonds and couture was a woman carrying private wounds, failed marriages, relentless media scrutiny, and the pressure of living up to her own myth. Alcohol became both comfort and curse, magnifying her emotions and pushing her into moments she'd later regret. She was too big a star to hide and too human not to stumble. And yet her vulnerability was part of her magic. Elizabeth Taylor's life was a glittering paradox, a woman who could be both regal and raw, untouchable, and heartbreakingly relatable. She remains a reminder that even the most dazzling queens have their battles, and sometimes the crown is heavier than it looks. Her legacy. A love story, a cautionary tale, and an enduring image of a star who lived and drank on her own terms. Judy Garland, the songbird who couldn't escape the storm. Judy Garland will forever be remembered as the girl who followed the yellow brick road. But off-screen, her life often led her somewhere much darker. From the moment she stepped into Hollywood's machine, the pressure was crushing. Studios controlled everything from her schedule to her diet, and even fed her a cocktail of pills to keep her thin, energetic, and performing on demand. It was the beginning of a cycle that would shadow her for the rest of her life. What started as medicine became dependency. Sleeping pills to come down, stimulants to get back up, all washed down with alcohol when the pressure got too loud. The world saw a radiant star, but behind the curtain was a woman battling exhaustion, anxiety, and a gnawing loneliness that no standing ovation could fix. Cancellations, erratic behavior, and heartbreaking public incidents followed, each one chipping away at the legend she had built. Garland's talent never faded, but her health did. The same voice that had enchanted millions began to carry the cracks of a life pushed too hard for too long. Her attempts at comebacks showed her resilience, but Hollywood is rarely kind to those who falter. By the time she was found dead at just 47, an apparent overdose, she had given nearly everything she had to the stage and screen, often at the cost of her own happiness. Judy Garland's is as dazzling as it is tragic, a reminder that even the brightest lights can burn out when fueled by pressure, addiction, and neglect. She was more than Dorothy, more than the songs and the sequins. She was a human being in a world that demanded perfection at any price, and her life remains a cautionary tale for every dreamer chasing the spotlight. Spencer Tracy, the gentleman's star with a quiet battle. Spencer Tracy was the kind of actor who made everything look effortless. Whether he was playing a grizzled sea captain or a principled lawyer, he carried a dignity that felt unshakable. But off-screen, Tracy was fighting a far less glamorous role, one he never auditioned for, a lifelong battle with alcoholism. It wasn't the wild, headline-making kind of drinking that landed others in jail. His was quieter, more private, but just as destructive. Public glimpses of his struggle did surface, like the times he was found unconscious in hotel lobbies. But for the most part, Tracy tried to keep his drinking out of sight. Still, the effects showed. Alcohol drained his energy, aged him prematurely, and strained relationships with his wife and children. The man who seemed so in control on screen often felt anything but in his personal life. Through it all, one constant source of strength was his lifelong friend and partner, Katharine Hepburn. She stood by him with unwavering loyalty, helping him through bouts of intoxication, shielding him from public embarrassment, and in many ways protecting his career from the fallout his drinking could have caused. In the middle of Hollywood's chaos, she became his anchor. Spencer Tracy's story isn't about a dramatic fall from grace. It's about the slow, steady toll addiction can take even on the strongest, most respected among us. His life reminds us that sometimes the biggest battles are fought in silence, and that the quiet support of someone who refuses to give up on you can be the difference between collapse and survival. Dennis Hopper, Hollywood's wild card, who rewrote his own ending. Dennis Hopper was Hollywood's rebel with too many causes, an actor, director, and artist who lived like life was a dare he couldn't refuse. In the 60s and 70s, he became the face of cinematic counterculture, a man who could deliver brilliance on screen and pure chaos everywhere else. Alcohol and drugs weren't just part of his life. They were his life. And for years, he seemed determined to burn through every opportunity and every bridge in Hollywood. The stories from his worst years sound like they were written for a rock star, not an actor. He drank and used so heavily that his mind began to fracture, leading to terrifying hallucinations and unpredictable outbursts. At one point, he retreated to the desert, living in near isolation, completely untethered from reality. By then, most of Hollywood had written him off as another lost talent too far gone to save. But in 1986, Hopper pulled off one of the industry's most unlikely comebacks. He got sober. No half measures, no excuses, just a clean break. From there, he rebuilt everything he'd lost, delivering memorable performances in films like Blue Velvet and Hoosiers, and earning back the respect of audiences and peers who had once given up on him. It wasn't just a career revival. It was a full-blown personal resurrection. Dennis Hopper's life is proof that even the most chaotic spirits can find their way back to center. He didn't just survive his demons, he outlived them, turning his story into one of grit, redemption, and second chances. In a town where most burnouts stay burned out, Hopper proved that sometimes the wildest card in the deck can still play a winning hand. Cary Grant, the gentleman who outsmarted the bottle. Cary Grant was the very definition of Hollywood elegance, perfectly tailored suits, that smooth transatlantic accent, and a charm so effortless it seemed almost unfair. On screen, he was untouchable, the suave leading man who never broke a sweat. But behind the camera, Grant was quietly wrestling with his own escape route, a years-long battle with alcohol that he kept carefully out of the spotlight. He never turned his struggles into a public spectacle. Friends and colleagues knew, but to the rest of the world he was as composed as ever. The truth was, fame's pressure and the weight of personal insecurities often pushed him toward the bottle. Then, in the 1950s, Grant made a decision as unconventional as it was bold. He sought treatment through LSD therapy. At the time, it was experimental and controversial, the sort of thing you didn't exactly announce at a press conference. For Grant, it was a turning point. The sessions guided by professionals forced him to confront his deepest fears and emotional wounds. Slowly, he began to break free from alcohol's grip. What emerged was a man who still carried his trademark grace but now had a new layer of self-awareness, a Cary Grant who was more in control of his life than ever before. He lived the rest of his years in sobriety, a rare feat in Hollywood's glittering pressure cooker. By the time he passed at 82, his legacy was not just in North by Northwest or To Catch a Thief, but in proving that reinvention is possible at any stage. Cary Grant didn't just play the perfect gentleman, he became one on his own terms. Robert Shaw. The talent who let the bottle bite back. Robert Shaw had the kind of presence that could freeze an audience or a great white shark. As Quint in Jaws, he delivered one of cinema's most haunting monologues, a performance so raw and real, it's hard to imagine anyone else in the role. But while Shaw could battle fictional predators on screen in real life, he faced a much deadlier opponent: alcohol. Shaw's drink of choice was scotch, and when he indulged, it was rarely in moderation. His binges were legendary and often disruptive, especially during filming. On the set of Jaws, tensions ran high not just between the human characters and the shark, but between Shaw and co-star Richard Dreyfuss. Fueled by alcohol, their clashes became part of the behind-the-scenes folklore, adding yet another layer of unpredictability to a production already fighting weather, mechanical failures, and studio pressure. For all his brilliance, Shaw's heavy drinking clouded his career. The same intensity that made him magnetic on screen sometimes boiled over into volatility off-camera. Hollywood can overlook a lot in the name of talent, but even Shaw's remarkable skill couldn't erase the strain his behavior caused among colleagues and crews. In 1978, at just 51, Robert Shaw died suddenly of a heart attack. His death felt like a scene cut short, leaving audiences and peers to wonder what more he could have achieved had he beaten his private battle. Shaw's story is a reminder that the real dangers in life aren't always mechanical sharks. Sometimes they're the demons we invite in ourselves. Glenn Ford, the quiet heartthrob who drank in silence. Glenn Ford was the kind of Hollywood leading man who didn't need to shout to command attention. Ruggedly handsome, effortlessly charming, and able to slip into roles ranging from tough cops to romantic leads, he seemed to have it all. But away from the cameras, Ford carried a private habit that slowly unraveled the edges of his life. A heavy daily drinking routine that few outside his inner circle truly understood. It wasn't the public tabloid-ready chaos of some of his peers. Ford's drinking was quieter, more controlled on the surface, but it was constant. Broken marriages, bouts of loneliness, and the pressure of maintaining his star image all fed into the cycle. A drink became a comfort, then a crutch, until it was simply part of who he was, as regular as his morning coffee. The cost was slow but relentless. Alcohol took a toll on his health and energy, dimming the vitality that had once made him one of the most bankable actors in Hollywood. As years passed, the charming screen icon aged faster than his peers, the sparkle in his eyes clouded by decades of wear. His career, while still respected, began to lose the momentum it once had, leaving him with more memories than roles. Glenn Ford's story doesn't have the sensationalism of a dramatic collapse, but it's no less cautionary. Sometimes addiction doesn't roar, it whispers day after day until it's woven so tightly into life that it feels impossible to pull free. For Ford, the quiet battle was still a losing one, and his life stands as a reminder that even the strongest leading men can be undone not by scandal, but by the steady, silent grip of the bottle. Mary Astor, the star who rewrote her own script. Mary Astor was one of the brightest talents of Hollywood's golden age, lighting up the screen in classics like The Maltese Falcon, and The Great Lie. With her elegance, poise, and undeniable skill, she seemed to have the perfect career. But behind the glamour, Astor was drowning in personal turmoil, failed marriages, relentless public scrutiny, and the pressure to remain flawless in an unforgiving industry. Her escape came in the form of alcohol, a companion that offered comfort while quietly sabotaging her life. Her drinking stayed mostly hidden until a bitter custody battle with her ex-husband exploded into scandal. He used her private diary in court, revealing intimate details of her affairs, heartbreaks, and drunken episodes. Hollywood, always eager for a juicy downfall, pounced. Her reputation teetered on the edge, and the star who once seemed untouchable found herself the subject of whispered gossip and public judgment. But Astor refused to let the scandal or the bottle define her. She made the life-changing decision to quit drinking entirely. Away from the spotlight, she began to rebuild not just her career, but herself. She turned to writing, channeling her experiences into candid memoirs like My Story and A Life on Film. In doing so, she reclaimed her narrative, proving she could own both her mistakes and her triumphs. Mary Astor's journey is a rare Hollywood redemption tale, a reminder that even when your name is splashed across headlines for all the wrong reasons, it's never too late to take back control. She didn't just survive the industry's judgment. She outlasted it, leaving behind not only unforgettable performances, but also a legacy of resilience and reinvention. Albert Finney, the gentleman who saw the warning signs. Albert Finney was the kind of actor who could disappear into any role, from the roguish charm of Tom Jones to the gravitas of Murder on the Orient Express. On screen, he seemed unstoppable. Off-screen, he enjoyed his share of drinks, particularly beer and whiskey, enough to make it a familiar part of his life. He wasn't the wild, tabloid-filling type, but alcohol was a constant companion lingering in the background for years. For a long time, Finney managed to keep it in check, or so it seemed. Then, in 1984, everything changed. He was diagnosed with kidney cancer, a moment that hit like a director yelling, "Cut," in the middle of the best scene of your life. Suddenly, the quiet indulgence didn't feel so harmless. The reality was clear: if he wanted more years, more roles, and more life, something had to give. Finney made the choice to drastically cut back on drinking, shifting his focus to health and work. The change wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that discipline could coexist with artistry. And it worked. He went on to deliver some of his most memorable performances well into his later years, carrying the same charisma, but with a sharper sense of purpose. When Albert Finney passed away in 2019, at the age of 82, he left behind more than a stellar filmography. His story became a reminder that sometimes it takes a scare to break bad habits, and that change, even later in life, can open the door to a richer, more intentional final act. Finney's legacy isn't just in the characters he played, but in the way he chose to play out his own life once he saw the stakes. Bela Lugosi. Dracula's shadow wasn't on the screen. Bela Lugosi will forever be remembered as the definitive Count Dracula, tall, hypnotic, with a gaze that could chill you to the bone. But while the cape and fangs were just costume, the darkness that followed him was all too real. Away from the set, Lugosi suffered from chronic pain that became a relentless part of his life. To cope, he turned first to morphine, then to alcohol, a combination as deadly as any horror plot he'd acted in. At first, the substances dulled the pain and kept him working. But as the years passed, they began to take over. Roles grew fewer, the offers less prestigious. Hollywood, never known for its patience with fading stars, pushed him aside. Once a celebrated figure of the silver screen, Lugosi slipped into poverty and isolation with the bottle and a syringe, as his only constant co-stars. He tried to quit more than once, but each attempt ended the same way, with another relapse, another slide deeper into dependency. By the time he died in 1956, at the age of 73 from a heart attack, Lugosi was a shadow of the man who had terrified audiences decades earlier. His last years were far removed from the glamour and applause, spent instead in obscurity and struggle. Bela Lugosi's is the kind of tragedy Hollywood specializes in, a reminder that talent alone isn't enough to survive the industry's brutal cycles. His Dracula may live on forever, immortal and untouchable, but the man behind the role was all too human. And in the end, it wasn't a wooden stake that brought him down, but the quiet, steady pull of addiction. Rita Hayworth, the love goddess who faded from the spotlight. Rita Hayworth was Hollywood's ultimate fantasy, the smoldering beauty who could set the screen on fire with a single glance. In films like Gilda and CoverGirl, she wasn't just acting. She was rewriting the definition of glamour. But behind the radiant smile and perfect curls, Hayworth carried a loneliness and restlessness that fame couldn't fix. Alcohol became her silent companion, a way to blur the edges of her troubles, even as it slowly eroded her career. Her drinking didn't erupt in wild public scandals. Instead, it crept quietly into her work. She began forgetting lines arriving late, or not at all, to set. Producers grew wary, and the once irresistible star found herself fighting to keep the very spotlight that had once seemed hers for life. For years, many mistook her symptoms for diva behavior or simple aging. It wasn't until later that the truth emerged. She was also battling Alzheimer's disease, a cruel twist that, alongside the drinking, dimmed her light long before it should have faded. By the 1980s, the love goddess was living far from the glamour of her heyday, her memories slipping away piece by piece. When she died in 1987, at the age of 68, it was as if Hollywood had lost not just an icon, but a piece of its golden heart. Her death was mourned as both a personal tragedy and a symbolic end to an era. Rita Hayworth's life is a bittersweet reminder that beauty and talent can enchant the world, but can't shield a person from pain. She will always be remembered as the woman who made hearts race in darkened theaters, and as the human being behind the image fighting battles no camera could ever capture. Richard Burton, the brilliant, happy alcoholic. Richard Burton was the kind of actor who could command a stage or screen with nothing more than his voice, that deep, rolling baritone that seemed carved out of stone. Critics hailed him as one of the greatest talents of his generation. But off-screen, Burton was also a man who treated vodka like a trusted old friend, sometimes downing 3 bottles before lunch, and still managing to deliver a performance sharp enough to impress the toughest director. For years, Burton seemed immune to the consequences. He wore his drinking like a badge, famously calling himself a happy alcoholic. But alcohol didn't just fuel his charm. It also fueled his famously tempestuous relationship with Elizabeth Taylor. Together, they were Hollywood's ultimate power couple and its most combustible. Love, jealousy, and booze mixed into a cocktail that often exploded in public, feeding the tabloids with a steady diet of scandal. By the 1970s, the cracks were showing. His once commanding voice grew hoarse, his health deteriorated, and the man who once strode into theaters like a conquering hero was sometimes staggering out of bars instead. Even his legendary work ethic couldn't disguise the toll years of heavy drinking had taken on his body. The public saw flashes of the old brilliance, but the edge was dulling. In 1984, at just 58, Richard Burton died of complete liver failure. His story is one of staggering talent and self-inflicted tragedy, proof that even a man who could outtalk, outwit, and outact nearly anyone couldn't outdrink the inevitable. He left behind unforgettable performances and a cautionary reminder that calling yourself a happy alcoholic doesn't make the ending any less bitter. Leonard Nimoy, the man who chose logic over the bottle. Leonard Nimoy will always be remembered as Mr. Spock, the half-Vulcan, half-human science officer whose calm logic became a cultural icon. But behind the steady gaze and signature salute, Nimoy was fighting a battle that was entirely human. As Star Trek launched him into worldwide fame, the pressure to live up to an idealized public image weighed heavily. For years, alcohol became his private escape, a way to soften the edges of stress, loneliness, and expectation. At first, it was just a drink to relax before or after a scene. But as the years went on, the glass in his hand became a more regular fixture than the pointed ears on his head. Nimoy later admitted, "I drank because I wanted to survive, but in the end, I destroyed myself." His words weren't melodrama, they were a sober reflection of a man who knew he was slipping further from the disciplined, controlled figure fans adored. In the late 1980s, Nimoy made the decision that would change everything. He quit drinking completely. Sobriety didn't just restore his health, it opened the door to a richer, more balanced life. He threw himself into writing photography and directing, and perhaps most importantly, he repaired strained family relationships. The man who had spent years hiding behind a bottle stepped fully into his own skin and found it fit better than any Starfleet uniform. When Nimoy passed away in 2015 at the age of 83, he left behind far more than an iconic character. He left a legacy of resilience, creativity, and the choice to live with clarity. His story is a reminder that even in the darkest chapters, logic and courage can guide you to a better ending. For Nimoy, the final frontier wasn't space. It was reclaiming himself.
Thanks. I needed that.
Imagine if Hollywood's brightest stars never put down the bottle. If the red carpets were lined not with diamonds and designer gowns, but with half-empty whiskey glasses and the lingering haze of last night's party. Fame would glitter on the outside, yet behind the scenes, careers would crumble, scandals would brew, and legends would burn out far too soon. This is the untold, intoxicating history of showbiz, wild, tragic, sometimes darkly funny, and impossible to look away from. Carrie Fisher, the rebel princess who fought real battles. Long before Marvel superheroes filled our screens, there was Princess Leia, fearless, witty, and armed with a blaster that could take down an empire. But Carrie Fisher's greatest battles weren't fought in a galaxy far, far away. They happened right here behind the curtain of fame under the relentless glare of Hollywood lights. From her teenage years, Fisher was swept into a whirlwind of stardom that most dream about, and few survive. With Star Wars catapulting her into pop culture immortality, she suddenly carried the impossible burden of being everyone's space princess. Behind that quick wit and sly smile, though, was a woman wrestling with the twin storms of bipolar disorder and substance abuse. Alcohol and drugs became her uneasy companions, a way to numb the manic highs and crushing lows. She once joked about her struggles with a razor-sharp humor that made people laugh, then quietly ache for her. Because Carrie Fisher never hid. She put her pain on stage in books and interviews, turning her scars into something that could help someone else feel less alone. Recovery was never a straight line. Rehab stints and relapses came like tides, each pulling her back into dangerous waters. Yet she kept swimming, not as a saintly role model, but as a brutally honest human being who refused to sugarcoat the fight. When Fisher passed away in 2016 at age 60, The world mourned not only the loss of an iconic actress, but also a fierce advocate for mental health who made it okay to speak about the ugly, unglamorous parts of life. Her legacy isn't just Leia's braids and blaster. It's the courage to live out loud, to fight your demons in public, and to laugh in their faces even when they're winning. Carrie Fisher proved that you can be a princess, a rebel, and still utterly gloriously human. And maybe that's the most heroic role of all. John Belushi, the comedic supernova that burned too fast. In the late 70s, if comedy was a battlefield, John Belushi was the grenade, loud, explosive, and impossible to ignore. He wasn't just funny. He was a force of nature. On Saturday Night Live in Animal House in the Blues Brothers, Belushi didn't just perform. He detonated on screen, leaving audiences doubled over in laughter and wondering if they'd just witnessed genius or chaos. Offstage, the chaos wasn't an act. Belushi lived like every night was a party, and every party was a competition to see just how far he could push the limits. Booze flowed like a second bloodstream, and drugs were a constant companion. He was the guy who could turn a quiet evening into a marathon of madness, the kind of friend you love, but also the one you worry will burn the house down metaphorically and literally. Hollywood ate it up until the lifestyle caught up with him. On March 5, 1982, at the infamous Chateau Marmont Hotel, Belushi's wild ride ended. Just 33 years old, the man who seemed indestructible was gone felled by the same excesses that had fueled his legend. His death wasn't just a shock. It was a gut punch to an industry that had cheered him on while quietly ignoring the warning signs. For Robin Williams, Belushi's passing was a jolt so sharp, it sent him running from drugs and drink, at least for a time. For fans, it was the moment the laughter stopped and the reality set in behind the big laughs. There had been a man wrestling with demons too heavy to carry. John Belushi's life is the kind of story that's both hilarious and heartbreaking. He proved that brilliance can come wrapped in chaos, that some stars shine brightest right before they disappear, and that sometimes the funniest person in the room is also the one hurting the most. He didn't get a long career, but he got immortality, the kind that keeps you laughing, even when you know the ending. Joan Crawford, Hollywood's perfect lady with a not-so-perfect secret. On screen, Joan Crawford was the very definition of elegance, a vision in satin, an Oscar-winning queen who could light up a room with one arched eyebrow. But behind the glamour and immaculate public image was a woman stockpiling liquor bottles, like they were designer handbags, hidden in closets' drawers, maybe even behind the good china. Crawford's drink of choice, whatever was within reach. Her problem wasn't just that she drank. It was what happened when she did. According to her adopted daughter, Christina, whose tell-all memoir, Mommy Dearest, became Hollywood legend, alcohol turned Joan from the poised star America adored into a whirlwind of rage. Those moments weren't just awkward. They were terrifying, leaving emotional scars far deeper than any public scandal. It's a jarring picture, the same woman who could deliver a flawless close-up on set, later screaming in drunken fury at home. Hollywood, of course, didn't want to see that side. The public preferred their Joan polished, not peeling back the curtain on a life that was as messy as a spilled martini. Yet in her final years, Crawford gave up drinking traded cocktail glasses for a quieter, more devout life. But for many, the image of the glamorous star was forever shadowed by the dark accounts in her daughter's book. It's a reminder that even the brightest diamonds can have cracks, and sometimes those cracks are sharp enough to cut. Joan Crawford's legacy is a complicated cocktail, one part Hollywood royalty, one part cautionary tale, shaken, never stirred with a dash of family tragedy. She remains unforgettable, not just for her talent and beauty, but for the sobering truth that fame can hide but never erase the flaws that make us all painfully human. Oliver Reed, the man who could outdrink a navy and still order another round. Oliver Reed wasn't just a British actor, he was a full-blown spectacle. On screen, he was magnetic, dangerous, the kind of man who could steal a scene with a single glare. Off-screen, he was the kind of man who could steal an entire night and possibly drink the pub dry while he was at it. The stories about Reed's drinking aren't just exaggerated pub tales, they're the stuff of world-class legend. Take, for example, the time he reportedly drank over 100 pints of beer in a single contest against Navy sailors and won. That's not just excessive, that's a level of commitment to inebriation that borders on Olympic. But behind the boozy bravado was a man burning the candle at both ends and setting the middle on fire for good measure. Public scandals followed him like a bar tab you forgot to pay. There were drunken interviews, bar brawls, and nights so wild they made the tabloids salivate. Reed's charm kept people watching, but his addiction was always driving the plot toward a tragic third act. That act came suddenly in 1999 during the filming of Gladiator. Reed died of a heart attack in a pub, reportedly after downing a lethal combination of rum, whiskey, and beer while arm wrestling sailors. It was the kind of exit that felt almost scripted, outrageous, dramatic, and entirely on brand. The studio had to finish his scenes with CGI, turning his final role into both a cinematic triumph and a haunting reminder of how quickly life can be cut short. Oliver Reed's story is a cautionary pint glass raised high proof that charisma and talent can't outrun addiction forever. He lived big, drank bigger, and left behind a legacy as both a brilliant actor and a walking, talking warning label. The tragedy. He could have had more years, more roles, more life. But for Reed, the party ended far too soon, even if he made sure it went out with a bang. Peter O'Toole, the man who could outdrink his own legend. Peter O'Toole wasn't just an actor, he was a full-scale, fire-breathing legend. With those piercing blue eyes and that unmistakable voice, he could command a scene like few ever could. But there was another performance he became famous for, one that didn't require a script. It was the role of Peter O'Toole, the man who could drink enough whiskey to make a distillery nervous and still show up to work the next day sometimes. O'Toole's drinking habits were the stuff of folklore. Multiple bottles of whiskey in a single night, standard. Slurred lines, forgotten scenes, even falling asleep on set, also standard. He once admitted with terrifying honesty, "I don't remember filming some of my movies." It wasn't just the haze of memory. Doctors eventually found that alcohol had eaten away at the lining of his stomach, causing internal bleeding and issuing him a chilling ultimatum: stop drinking or stop living. But O'Toole wasn't the kind of man to sip quietly in the corner. He turned nightlife into an extreme sport. Alongside fellow Hellraiser Richard Harris, he went on legendary bar crawls across London, woke up unconscious in a Roman fountain, and on at least one famous occasion, rode a camel through the streets of Dublin after a heavy night out. For Peter, life was a grand adventure, even if the map was stained with whiskey rings. Yet for all the chaos, his talent never fully drowned. He left behind unforgettable performances, the kind that remind you why he was considered one of the greats. But his story is also a stark caution, no matter how brilliant, charming, or invincible someone seems. Addiction is the one co-star you can't upstage. Peter O'Toole's life was a mix of genius and mayhem, champagne, and regret, proof that even the brightest stars can burn themselves out from the inside. Dean Martin, the king of cool who knew how to hold his liquor, or at least pretend to. Dean Martin was the kind of man who could stroll into a room, croon a love song, crack a joke and make you believe he'd just polished off half a bottle of whiskey all without breaking a sweat. To audiences, he was Hollywood's ultimate charming drunk, glass in hand, smile on his face and that lazy, velvety voice floating through the air like smoke from a fine cigar. But here's the twist sometimes, that whiskey was just apple juice. Martin didn't just master the art of performing, he mastered the art of looking like he was performing tipsy. This clever sleight of hand wasn't just a gimmick, it was his brand. Fans adored Drunk Dean, the lovable rascal, who seemed to live on martinis and mischief. Meanwhile, the real Dean knew exactly how to stay in control on stage. Sure, he drank off stage, he wasn't a saint, but when the lights were on, the apple juice flowed, and the show never went off the rails. In an industry littered with careers destroyed by booze, Martin somehow spun his party boy image into pure gold. That's not to say life was without its challenges. The pressure to maintain his easygoing image, the late nights, the endless performances, they took their toll. But Martin's ability to separate the man from the myth kept him from falling into the same traps that swallowed so many of his contemporaries. His act was a wink, a toast, and a promise that the audience was in on the joke, even if they didn't know it. Dean Martin's legacy is more than Rat Pack nostalgia. It's a masterclass in showmanship, a reminder that sometimes the smartest person in the room is the one who lets you believe the illusion. He wasn't just the king of cool. He was the king of control, even with a whiskey glass in his hand. And maybe that's the real secret to surviving Hollywood. Know your lines, know your limits, and never let them see you truly drunk. Robin Williams, the man who made the world laugh while fighting his own shadows. Robin Williams was a human firework, dazzling, unpredictable, and over far too soon. On stage, on screen, even in a casual conversation, he was an unstoppable force of wit and energy, as if his brain had a dozen channels playing at once, and he was surfing them all in real time. But behind the rapid-fire jokes and infectious smile was a man fighting battles that no audience could see. In the 70s and 80s, Williams fell into the same trap that claimed so many young stars, the seductive mix of alcohol, drugs, and the rush of fame. The turning point came in 1982 with the sudden death of his friend John Belushi, a shock that jolted him into sobriety. For 2 decades, he stayed clean, proving to himself and the world that he could live without the substances that once fueled and haunted him. But addiction has a long memory, and in 2003 he relapsed, slipping back into the cycle he thought he'd escaped. The last years of his life were even more complicated. Alongside addiction, Williams battled depression and an undiagnosed case of Lewy body dementia, a cruel neurological disease that slowly unraveled his mind. The man who brought joy to millions was being robbed piece by piece of his ability to think, remember, and even feel like himself. It was an invisible thief stealing the light from one of the brightest souls in entertainment. When Williams died by suicide in 2014, at the age of 63, the world was stunned. It felt impossible that someone who gave so much happiness could be living in so much pain. His story is a bittersweet reminder that comedy often walks hand in hand with tragedy, that the loudest laughers may be fighting the quietest battles. Errol Flynn, Hollywood's first swashbuckler, who fought more bottles than pirates. Before Marvel heroes swung from skyscrapers, Errol Flynn was swinging from chandeliers, or more accurately, from the mast of a ship in the adventures of Robin Hood. On screen, he was all charm and daring, the ultimate adventure hero with a sword in one hand and a wink in his eye. Off-screen, the sword was swapped for champagne at breakfast and hard liquor before lunch, kicking off days that made his movies look tame. Flynn's drinking wasn't just a bad habit. It was a lifestyle. There were days he was so drunk on set that stunt doubles had to step in to save the film and his balance. During they died with their boots. He literally fell off his horse because standing upright was no longer an option. His infamous quote, "I like old whiskey and young women," wasn't just a punchline. It was his mission statement. And his Mulholland Drive mansion, notorious for its wild parties, earned the nickname Cirrhosis by the Sea. But behind the swagger was a man using alcohol to drown demons he couldn't face. Legal trouble followed him, including a sensational statutory rape trial in 1942, from which he was acquitted. Yet he carried on with the same reckless abandon. Flynn lived as if life were an endless party, and the hangover would never come. Spoiler alert, it did. By the time he died at 50 from a heart attack, the autopsy revealed his body was ravaged, liver, kidneys, heart, all worn down by decades of excess. He remains a legend, but also a cautionary tale that not even Hollywood's golden hero could outrun the bottle. John Barrymore, the first great actor to make alcohol his co-star. Long before Hollywood had rehab centers and PR crisis managers, it had John Barrymore, the man who could command a stage with Shakespearean brilliance and then forget half his lines because the whiskey was hitting harder than the applause. Dubbed Hollywood's first great alcoholic, Barrymore didn't just drink. He drank like it was a competitive sport, and his greatest rival was sobriety. On stage, he was electric until he wasn't. There were nights when he had to be fed his lines from the wings, a humiliation he took in stride with his infamous request, "Cue the lines." It became a running joke, the kind you laugh at while secretly wondering if the punchline is ruining a legend. His drinking blurred the line between the grand performances he was paid for and the drunken performances he gave for free. But perhaps the most outrageous chapter of Barrymore's story came after his final curtain call, literally. When he died, his equally rowdy friends reportedly stole his body from the morgue for one last party, propping him up as the ultimate guest of honor. Whether that story is entirely true or just a twisted Hollywood myth almost doesn't matter. It fits the Barrymore brand too perfectly to ignore. Barrymore's life was a mix of genius and self-destruction, a tragicomedy where the laughs came with a hangover. He proved that you could be a giant of your craft and still let the bottle topple your legacy. In the end, his story stands as both an ode to the roaring excess of early Hollywood and a cautionary tale when the curtain falls. You can't take the standing ovation or the scotch with you. Nicolas Cage, Hollywood's wild card who gambled with the bottle and the bank. Nicolas Cage has always been Hollywood's unpredictable daredevil, the guy who could win an Oscar one year and then star in a movie about a cursed motorcyclist the next. His career choices were wild, his performances intense, and his personal life even wilder. Public drunken incidents. Check arrests for intoxication more than once. Cage wasn't just a star. He was a headline generator on two legs, often with a drink in hand. But booze was only part of the roller coaster. Cage also managed to burn through a staggering $150 million fortune like it was Monopoly money. Castles in Europe, sure. Dinosaur skulls. Why not? A haunted mansion in New Orleans. Absolutely. While the purchases were eccentric, the drinking blurred the lines between extravagant and reckless. Soon, poor investments, mounting debts, and legal troubles had him scrambling for roles just to keep the creditors at bay. And yet somehow, Cage remained Cage. Even in the midst of chaos, he kept working, sometimes in brilliant films, sometimes in so bad they're good oddities. He became both a cautionary tale and a cult icon, the kind of actor who could be mocked and revered in the same breath. His resilience, however messy, proved he wasn't going to vanish quietly into the Hollywood graveyard. Nicolas Cage's story is proof that even extraordinary talent can't protect you from bad choices, but it can give you one more shot to turn things around. He's the cinematic equivalent of a high-stakes poker player who loses big, then saunters back to the table with a grin and says, "Deal me in." In Hollywood, that might just be the wildest move of all. Michael Landon, TV's perfect dad with a not-so-perfect morning routine. On television, Michael Landon was the picture of wholesome American values, the loving father on Little House on the Prairie, the man you could trust to give you sage advice by the fireplace. But off-camera, his mornings looked a little different. Instead of a hearty breakfast, Landon liked to start the day with coffee spiked with whiskey. By afternoon, it might be vodka with soda. And between drinks, he burned through up to 4 packs of cigarettes a day, as if daring his lungs to keep up. This double life was almost cinematic in itself, the clean-cut family man by day, the quiet self-destructor by night and morning and lunch. The grueling demands of television combined with personal pressures seemed to fuel the habit. Fans saw the smile, the hair, the twinkle in his eye. They didn't see the glass in his hand or the toll it was taking on his body. Hollywood has always been good at selling illusions, and Landon's was one of its most convincing. But the bill for that lifestyle eventually came due. In 1991, Landon was diagnosed with aggressive pancreatic cancer, a disease his years of drinking and smoking had likely helped along. Just months later, he was gone, passing away at the age of 54. The loss stunned audiences who had grown up with him as their on-screen moral compass. It was a reminder that even our most comforting icons are vulnerable to the same human flaws as everyone else. Michael Landon's story is bittersweet, a career filled with warmth and inspiration, shadowed by private habits that quietly shortened his time here. He remains a beloved figure, but also a sobering example that the image we see on screen is never the whole story. Sometimes the heroes we look up to are fighting battles we don't see, and sometimes they lose. Robert Downey Jr., the comeback king who nearly lost the crown. Before he became the face of Marvel's Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. was Hollywood's most dazzling cautionary tale. The talent was undeniable, sharp, magnetic, able to slip into any role with ease, but so was the self-destruction. In the 90s, his life became a revolving door of arrests, rehabs, and court dates. He was fired from projects, most famously from the hit TV show Ally McBeal, not because he wasn't good enough, but because he simply couldn't stay sober long enough to show up. Downey once described his addiction with chilling honesty. "It's like I have a loaded gun in my mouth, and I like the taste of metal." That wasn't a metaphor for drama's sake, it was a glimpse into how close he was to losing everything. Drugs and alcohol didn't just derail his career. They hijacked his life, burning bridges with studios, and leaving even his biggest fans wondering if the prodigy they once loved was gone for good. But Hollywood loves a redemption arc, and Downey gave it the performance of a lifetime. Through sheer determination, treatment, and a stubborn refusal to stay down, he clawed his way back. His comeback wasn't instant. It was a slow rebuild, one role at a time, until 2008, when a red and gold armored suit changed everything. Iron Man didn't just launch the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it resurrected Robert Downey Jr., transforming him from Hollywood's problem child into its most bankable star. Today, his story is more than just about a superhero franchise. It's about resilience, the grit it takes to face yourself, and the belief that no fall, no matter how public, how humiliating, has to be the end. Downey didn't just get a second chance, he earned it. And in doing so, he proved that sometimes the greatest role you'll ever play is yourself rewritten. Mickey Rourke, the boxer who fought himself harder than any opponent. In the 80s, Mickey Rourke was the kind of Hollywood heartthrob who made casting directors swoon and critics take notice. He had it all: the smoldering looks, the talent, the promise of a career that could rival the greats. But somewhere along the way, Rourke stepped out of the spotlight and into a ring of his own making, where his fiercest opponent was himself. Alcohol was both his corner man and his worst enemy. Fueled by drinking and a taste for chaos, Rourke picked fights literally and figuratively with anyone in reach. Relationships crumbled, arrests piled up, and his reputation for being difficult turned him into a Hollywood risk no one wanted to take. In a move that shocked everyone, he traded scripts for gloves, trying his hand at professional boxing. The result: a battered, scarred face and a career hanging by a thread. Rourke once admitted he drank to the point of self-destruction, a brutal but honest confession. For years, it seemed like the man who had been destined for stardom was gone lost under layers of regret, bad decisions, and whiskey. Hollywood had moved on, and Rourke seemed content to drift in the shadows, another cautionary tale of squandered potential. And then came The Wrestler. In 2008, Rourke delivered a raw, heartbreaking performance that mirrored his own fall and fight for redemption. The role didn't just earn him awards, it reminded the world of the talent that had always been there waiting for a chance to rise again. Mickey Rourke's story is proof that even after you've taken every wrong turn, there's still a road back, but only if you're willing to fight harder than you ever have before. Andre the Giant, the larger-than-life legend who could drink you under the table and the next table too. Andre the Giant wasn't just big, he was mythic. Standing over 7 feet tall with hands like frying pans and a voice as deep as a cave, he was a spectacle before he ever stepped into a wrestling ring or a movie set. But behind the iconic size and booming presence was a man living in constant pain, the kind only someone with gigantism could understand. And to cope with it, Andre turned to a cure he could pour into a glass. Calling Andre a heavy drinker would be like calling the ocean a little damp. He could down over 100 beers in a single night. One legendary session, a jaw-dropping 119 beers in just 6 hours, a feat that would leave most people hospitalized, or at least horizontal. For Andre, it was less about the party and more about numbing the ache in his massive joints, a pain that followed him everywhere. But alcohol is a cruel companion. The same bottomless tolerance that made him a legend at the bar also took a toll on his body. Combined with the health issues from his size, his drinking sped up the damage, wearing him down from the inside out. He kept going as long as he could, wrestling, acting, and entertaining millions. But giants, it turns out, are not immune to human fragility. Andre the Giant died in 1993 at just 46 years old from heart failure. For fans, it was a shock, a reminder that even those who seem indestructible have limits. His story is both awe-inspiring and sobering: a man whose size made him larger than life, but whose pain made him human, and whose coping mechanism came with a cost no one could lift.
Have you ever wondered why some of your favorite stars suddenly disappear from the spotlight? No scandals, no headlines, just gone. It's not fame fatigue or career collapse. the truth runs deeper and darker. Many celebrities are quietly facing devastating health battles that force them away from the public eye. Behind their smiles were silent wars. In this story, we look closer. Some names will shock you. Their stories may change the way you see them, forever. Bruce Willis, when the action hero falls silent. He was the face of unshakable cool, the guy who could walk barefoot across broken glass and still crack a joke. Bruce Willis wasn't just an action hero. He was a symbol of grit and charm, a man who defined an era of Hollywood. So when news broke that he was stepping away from acting due to aphasia and later frontotemporal dementia, it felt like a gut punch. The man who gave voice to so many unforgettable characters was now struggling to find his own. Willis's diagnosis didn't come with flashing lights or drama. It came quietly, as his family revealed the heartbreaking truth. This progressive disease was slowly stealing his ability to communicate and connect. Fans who grew up on his smirks and one-liners were left stunned. How could John McClane, the die-hard legend, be silenced? Yet in the shadows of this painful journey, something even more powerful emerged. His family, unwavering and united, became his voice, his shield, and his loudest advocates. Even now, with the cameras turned off, Bruce Willis remains a giant. His legacy isn't just in the films he made or the characters he played, it's in the courage of facing something terrifying with quiet dignity. His story reminds us that heroes aren't just made in movies. Sometimes the bravest battles happen away from the spotlight, with no script, no stunt doubles, and no way to fight back except with love, strength, and an unbreakable spirit. Morgan Freeman, the voice that refused to break. He's the voice we all recognize, the sound of wisdom, strength, and calm in the storm. Morgan Freeman doesn't just narrate stories, he is the story. But behind the scenes, beyond the iconic roles and golden voice, Freeman has been quietly battling a different kind of adversity. After a devastating car accident 14 years ago left him with permanent nerve damage and a paralyzed left hand, every gesture became a challenge. His beige compression glove, worn during the 2022 World Cup opening ceremony, wasn't a fashion choice. It was a silent testimony to pain. Freeman lives with fibromyalgia, a chronic condition that brings waves of unpredictable pain. The kind of pain that doesn't show on camera, but lingers behind every smile. Yet, he's never used it as an excuse. He continues to act, to travel, to inspire. While others may have stepped back, Freeman leaned forward. His roles have deepened, his presence sharpened by experience. The man once known for playing gods and presidents now embodies something even more powerful: resilience. In every scene, there's a quiet message. Strength isn't in how loud you roar, but in how you endure. In a world obsessed with perfection, Morgan Freeman stands as a powerful contradiction. Imperfect, unshaken, human. He reminds us that real heroes don't always wear capes or carry guns. Sometimes they wear a therapy glove, and they keep going. Not because it's easy, but because they must. Because their story still matters. And when Morgan Freeman speaks, the world still listens. Tim Curry, the star who found strength in silence. Once the life of every scene, Tim Curry dazzled audiences with electric energy, biting wit, and a voice that could charm or chill. From the Rocky Horror Picture Show to Clue, he was unforgettable, larger than life, wildly magnetic. Then, in 2012, everything changed. A massive stroke struck like lightning, robbing him of mobility and speech, silencing a man who once lit up stages with nothing but presence. Fans were shocked. How could someone so vibrant be reduced to a whisper? But Tim Curry didn't disappear. He didn't fade. He adapted. Though the stroke made performing on stage nearly impossible, he turned to voice acting, a space where his legacy could still breathe. His voice, once a tool of flamboyance, became a quiet act of defiance. Every word he spoke after that stroke carried weight, carried history, carried willpower. The man who once danced in fishnet stockings became a symbol of resilience. He refused to be defined by what he'd lost. Instead, he focused on what he still had: a brilliant mind, a passion for storytelling, and a voice that refused to be silenced. Tim Curry's journey is more than inspiring, it's humbling. He reminds us that identity is not found in physical strength or stage lights, but in the unshakable spirit behind it all. His story is not one of tragedy, but of transformation. And for every fan who ever watched him sparkle in character, his real-life comeback shines even brighter. Because the truest stars don't just perform, they endure. Neil Diamond, The Music Never Stopped. For decades, Neil Diamond was the soundtrack to our lives. Sweet Caroline echoed through stadiums, road trips, and summer nights. His voice, gravelly, rich, unmistakable, was more than music. It was memory. But in 2018, just before his 77th birthday, Diamond announced he was stepping off the stage. The reason? Parkinson's disease. The news dropped like a quiet bombshell. There was no drama, just a soft goodbye from one of music's biggest legends, and a curtain falling on live performances that had spanned over 50 years. But Diamond didn't disappear. He didn't wallow. Instead, he pivoted. Though touring was no longer possible, his desire to write and record music remained fierce. In public statements, he expressed deep regret for disappointing fans, but also gratitude. Gratitude for a lifetime of applause, connection, and song. Rather than let illness define the end of his story, he chose to keep creating, keep contributing, and keep inspiring. In silence, he was still singing, just differently now. And perhaps even more powerfully. Neil Diamond's story isn't just about Parkinson's. It's about grace, humility, and unwavering passion. He reminds us that even when the body slows, the soul can still dance. His journey is a love letter to endurance, and as the lights dim and the crowds fade, one thing remains: the music. It still plays, and so does he. Sam Neill, fighting cancer with courage and a pen. He stared down dinosaurs, ruled kingdoms, and brought poets to life. But nothing prepared Sam Neill for the quiet terror of a cancer diagnosis. In 2023, the Jurassic Park star revealed he was battling stage 3 blood cancer, angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma. Fans were stunned. One of cinema's most steady presences, suddenly facing a life-altering storm. And yet, it wasn't the illness that shocked people most. It was his calm, his honesty, his choice to meet fear not with panic, but with purpose. As chemotherapy lost its power, Neil turned to experimental drugs, requiring infusions every 2 weeks to stay alive. But even then, he didn't retreat. He began writing a memoir, Did I Ever Tell You This? Not for fame, but for legacy. He wanted his grandchildren to know him. In his words, "Each day, I don't know how much longer I have, so I write." It's a sentence heavy with truth, but also lit with light. Sam Neill, the actor, may have paused, but Sam Neill, the storyteller, was just getting started. His battle isn't just about survival, it's about meaning, about using what time you have left to speak, to create, to connect. And as he continues to work, advocate, and inspire, he leaves behind more than performances. He leaves wisdom. If you've ever drawn strength from a favorite film or wondered what grace under pressure really looks like, Sam Neill has your answer. What would you write if today was uncertain? Let his story be the reminder there's power in the truth, and even more in the courage to share it. Selma Blair. Beauty in the breakdown. She was radiant, effortless on screen. From Cruel Intentions to Legally Blonde, Selma Blair's performances were laced with fire and vulnerability. But in 2018, the actress delivered a different kind of role, one without makeup or red carpets. She revealed she had multiple sclerosis, a chronic disease attacking the nervous system. For years, she had struggled in silence, misdiagnosed, misunderstood, even doubting herself. The diagnosis brought clarity, and then she chose to make it public. Blair didn't just speak up, she showed up. Shaking hands, trembling legs, blurred speech, she let the world see it all. Through raw Instagram posts and powerful interviews, she offered a window into a life most keep hidden. Her now famous mirror selfie, detailing the pain of dressing herself, hit like a quiet scream. "I tremble as I button each button," she wrote. It wasn't about pity. It was about truth. Her truth. And in that honesty, she gave voice to millions who live with invisible pain every day. Selma Blair isn't just surviving MS. She's transforming it into awareness, into advocacy, into art. Her courage redefines what strength looks like in Hollywood and beyond. And for anyone who's ever felt alone in their battle, her story whispers something powerful. You are not broken. You are becoming. If you've followed her journey, you know. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of something brave. What does strength look like to you? Maybe it looks like Selma. Kathy Bates, the strength behind the silence. She terrified us in Misery, moved us in The Blind Side, and commanded every screen she graced. Kathy Bates is a powerhouse. But in 2012, she faced a battle no script could prepare her for: ovarian cancer. It wasn't her first. Years earlier, she had quietly survived breast cancer. This time, the fight was longer, harder. The surgeries were brutal. The chemotherapy drained her. But Kathy, much like the characters she plays, refused to be beaten. She didn't hide the pain. She spoke out, candidly, unapologetically, about the scars left behind, both physical and emotional. She talked about the fatigue, the weight gain, the lymphedema, and the moments of deep frustration. But she also talked about hope, about early detection, about fighting like hell and then showing up to work, swollen legs and all. While many stars retreat in illness, Kathy stepped forward. She became a voice for cancer survivors, for women silenced by fear, and for anyone who needed proof that resilience is possible, even when the odds feel impossible. Today, Kathy Bates isn't just acting, she's advocating. Her roles may change, but her message stays strong. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are still powerful. Her story is not one of survival alone. It's one of reinvention, of using pain as purpose. And if you've ever questioned whether strength could wear a smile, look no further. Kathy wears it every day. Linda Ronstadt. When the music stopped, the voice within grew louder. She had one of the most powerful voices in music, raw, fearless, unmistakable. Linda Ronstadt didn't just sing songs, she owned them. From country to opera to rock and roll, her range was unmatched. But in 2013, fans were stunned when she revealed the unthinkable: Parkinson's disease had taken her ability to sing. Just like that, the voice that once soared was silenced. And yet, in that silence, a different kind of strength began to rise. Ronstadt was candid. "No one can sing with Parkinson's," she said plainly. There was no dramatics, just truth. She stepped away from the stage, but not from the world. Instead, she wrote Simple Dreams, her memoir, a love letter to music, memory, and a life lived with passion. Her openness about her diagnosis sparked conversations about a disease often hidden in the shadows, and she didn't stop there. Linda became an advocate, using her platform to raise awareness, to educate, to connect. Though the music stopped, Linda Ronstadt's influence never did. Her story is about more than loss. It's about identity, resilience, and reinvention. She taught us that even when the instrument is taken away, the soul of the artist remains. For anyone who fears what life looks like after letting go of what defines them, Linda offers a powerful answer. You don't lose who you are. You find new ways to be seen. What would you do if your greatest gift was taken away? Linda turned hers into purpose. Michael J. Fox, the time traveler who chose to stand still and fight. He traveled through time in a DeLorean and into our hearts with a smile that never quit. Michael J. Fox was Hollywood's golden boy, quick-witted, endlessly charming, and unstoppable. But in 1991, at just 29 years old, life hit pause. Parkinson's disease. He kept it hidden for years, afraid of what it might mean for his future. When he finally went public in 1998, the world saw not weakness, but a warrior stepping into the light. And that's when the real story began. Fox didn't retreat, he redefined. With tremors in his hands and hope in his voice, he launched the Michael J. Fox Foundation, now the world's leading force in Parkinson's research. He cut back on acting, but never on passion. He showed up in guest roles, spoke at conferences, and wrote best-selling memoirs with raw honesty and disarming humor. He admitted it wasn't easy. He lost balance, broke bones, endured pain. But what he never lost was perspective. With gratitude, optimism is sustainable, he once said. Simple words, big truth. Today, Michael J. Fox isn't the teen heartthrob in sneakers anymore. He's something greater, a symbol of courage, resilience, and relentless hope. His story teaches us that even when life rewrites your script, you can still choose how the story ends. And if you're wondering what real strength looks like, it doesn't always stand tall. Sometimes it shakes, but it stands anyway. What would you do if your body said stop, but your heart said go? Michael chose to go and never looked back. Tom Hanks, the Hollywood everyman facing a hidden battle. He's played heroes, legends, and ordinary men who rose in extraordinary ways. From Forrest Gump to Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks has always felt like someone we know, relatable, steady, good. But behind the roles and warm smile, Hanks has quietly wrestled with a challenge many overlook: type 2 diabetes. Diagnosed in 2013, it wasn't a sudden shock, but a slow realization. Years of fluctuating weight for roles, high blood sugar levels, and a lifestyle that finally caught up. Hanks spoke about it with characteristic honesty. I was part of a generation that danced through life, then found out they were sick, he said. Doctors warned him to change his diet, no more sugar, alcohol, or red meat. But like many, he struggled. Even with fame and resources, the day-to-day discipline of managing a chronic illness proved daunting. And that's what made his story so real, because sometimes being human means not having it all figured out. Even America's most beloved actor isn't immune to life's quiet demands. Tom Hanks may not talk about his diagnosis often, but in his quiet transparency, there's power. He reminds us that health battles don't always scream. Sometimes they whisper, and managing them isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. If you've ever faced a lifestyle shift or a wake-up call from your own body, you're not alone. Even Forrest had to stop running. What would you change if your health asked you to? Maybe like Tom, it starts with listening, and then taking the next right step. Wendy Williams. When the microphone turns on the host. For years, Wendy Williams owned daytime TV like no one else. Sharp-tongued, unfiltered, and always bold. She wasn't just reporting pop culture, she was pop culture. But behind the mic and under the wigs, a quieter story was unfolding. In 2018, Wendy publicly revealed she had Graves' disease, an autoimmune condition that affects the thyroid. Suddenly, the energy, The sharpness, the fire that fueled her iconic persona began to flicker, and the world watched, uncomfortably close. But it didn't stop there. Wendy opened up about her struggles with addiction, anxiety, and depression. She fainted live on air, went in and out of treatment, and disappeared for stretches of time, each absence sparking headlines, concern, and gossip. Yet every time she returned, she did so with a startling honesty. She didn't ask for sympathy. She demanded truth. "I'm not perfect," she said, "but I'm still here." Her words felt raw, unscripted, because they were. Wendy wasn't playing a part. She was living a battle in real time. Today, Wendy's future in media remains uncertain, but her legacy, undeniable. She broke barriers for women in radio and television. She shattered taboos by talking openly about health, mental and physical. And most importantly, she showed that even strong voices can tremble. Even the loudest people sometimes feel unheard. Have you ever felt the pressure to perform when your world was falling apart? Wendy did, and she turned that pressure into a platform. Nick Jonas, the rock star with a silent battle. He was just 13 when the diagnosis came: type 1 diabetes. For most kids, that would mean fear, confusion, and an uncertain future. But Nick Jonas? He was already on stage, already a rising star, and now, suddenly, a teen with a chronic illness he'd carry for life. The sugar crashes, the mood swings, the constant finger pricks, they didn't stop when the lights came on. They followed him backstage, on tour buses, into recording studios. Fame didn't make it easier. It made it harder to hide. But Nick didn't stay silent for long. He turned his personal battle into public purpose. Speaking out, raising awareness, founding the Change for the Children Foundation, he gave voice to millions of young people struggling with diabetes. Instead of letting the disease define him, he redefined what it looked like to live with it: strong, successful, and unafraid. He wears a glucose monitor like others wear jewelry: open, unapologetic, and real. Nick Jonas is more than a pop icon. He's a role model for resilience. His story reminds us that managing a disease isn't a one-time fight. It's a daily decision, a choice to show up, to take care, to live big even with limits. What's the thing in your life that feels invisible to others but exhausting to you? For Nick, it's a blood sugar reading. For you, it might be something else. But like him, you can still rise and shine. Lil Wayne, the rap icon living on the edge of a seizure. He changed hip-hop forever with his flow, his fearlessness, and his fire. Lil Wayne wasn't just prolific, he was untouchable. Album after album, verse after verse, he dominated the game. But behind the swagger and success, a quieter crisis brewed. Repeated seizures, some near fatal, began shaking the foundation of his life. Diagnosed with epilepsy, Wayne revealed what fans never saw: that his greatest threat wasn't a rival rapper, it was his own brain, turning on him without warning. For years, the seizures were brushed off, kept private. Then came the emergency landings, the hospitalizations, the public scares. Eventually, Wayne broke the silence. "I am an epileptic," he said. "I'm prone to seizures. This isn't something that just started. I've had it all my life." His confession wasn't weakness, it was strength. A megastar admitting he was vulnerable, that even someone who spits fire on stage can be brought to his knees by something he can't control. Since then, Lil Wayne has changed how he lives and what he values. He cut back on late-night partying, quit drinking lean, focused more on rest, recovery, and protecting his peace. But he never slowed creatively. His lyrics are sharper, his perspective deeper, and his message is clear: you can be both powerful and human. What's your unseen battle? If Lil Wayne can own his truth and still stand tall, maybe you can too. Jack Nicholson, the legend who slowly stepped into the shadows. He was the wild card of Hollywood, the eyebrow raise, the devilish grin. From One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest to The Shining, Jack Nicholson didn't just play characters, he consumed them. He was chaos and charm in one body. But in recent years, the once ever-present star quietly disappeared from public life. No new films, no red carpets, just silence. Whispers began. Was it age? Illness? A man who once owned the room now seemed to vanish from it entirely. Friends close to him hinted at memory loss, a slowing mind, the quiet unraveling that sometimes comes with time. No official statement, no farewell tour, just a slow fade to black. And somehow, that made it more haunting. For fans, it was like watching the final scene of a beloved film, with no closing credits. But those who knew him best say Jack is at peace, living privately, surrounded by family. The roles are done, the applause given. And what remains is the man, flawed, brilliant, fiercely human. Jack Nicholson's retreat isn't a tragedy. It's a reminder that even giants need rest. That sometimes, the loudest thing a person can do is be still. He gave us everything on screen: rage, brilliance, madness, joy. And now, he asks for nothing but space. What would you do if the world expected your spotlight, but your soul needed darkness? Jack chose quiet. And maybe that's the boldest act of all. Barbara Palvin, behind the runway, a silent struggle. She commands attention with her grace, elegance, and poise. On runways, she'd step like a breeze. On camera, she glows. Barbara Palvin is a true supermodel, and yet beneath the spotlight, she quietly carried a heavy burden. For years, she endured excruciating pain during her menstrual cycles, fatigue so intense she could barely stand, sleepless nights that blurred into each other, symptoms she brushed off as normal. It wasn't until she insisted on a specialist consultation that the truth emerged: endometriosis. The diagnosis didn't just bring answers. It unlocked treatment and finally lifted years of physical burden. Palvin shared the news not with fanfare, but with quiet courage. A candid post on Instagram behind-the-scenes hospital photos, she didn't beg for sympathy. Instead, she offered solidarity. To all the women told this is just how it is, she said, "You're not alone. You deserve help." The surgery, though painful, brought relief, and her willingness to speak up turned a personal ordeal into a beacon of awareness. Now she stands in her spotlight not just as a model, but as an advocate for compassion, early diagnosis, and bodily autonomy. Barbara Palvin's story reminds us that even the most polished exteriors can hide hidden battles. Her strength isn't just in her walk or her beauty, it's in her voice, shared bravely. Have you ever suffered in silence, afraid to speak up about pain no one sees? Maybe it's time to follow her lead, dare to name it, and let healing begin. Selena Gomez, the pop star with a warrior's heart. She started as Disney's sweetheart, grew into a global pop sensation, and somewhere along the way, without fanfare, became a quiet force of resilience. Selena Gomez was just 23 when she revealed her lupus diagnosis, an autoimmune disease that attacks the body from within. The glamour of red carpets quickly collided with hospital gowns, 4 drips, and days she could barely move. Then came the news that stunned the world. She needed a kidney transplant. Her best friend gave her one. But the real story wasn't just the surgery, it was what came next. Selena didn't vanish. She didn't sugarcoat. Instead, she chose honesty. "I had to stop. My health was more important than my career," she said. In an industry that praises hustle over healing, her choice felt radical. She opened up about her anxiety, depression, and the emotional toll of both illness and fame. Through her brand, Rare Beauty, she turned pain into purpose, funding mental health initiatives and encouraging others to embrace their imperfections. What once made her feel broken became her power. Today, Selena's voice carries more than melody. It carries meaning. Her journey isn't about being fearless. It's about choosing to keep going, even when you're scared. She taught a generation that vulnerability is strength and that healing isn't linear. It's messy, real, and worth it. Have you ever felt like your body was working against you? Selena has, and she turned that fight into fuel. Her story sings even when she doesn't. Charlie Sheen? Charlie Sheen is a well-known American actor celebrated for his leading roles in film and television. Over his 50-year career, he has garnered numerous accolades, including a Golden Globe Award and 4 Primetime Emmy nominations. In 1994, he was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. However, Sheen's journey has been tumultuous. He was dropped from 2.5 Men by CBS and Warner Brothers due to substance abuse issues, marital problems, and controversial comments about the show's creator, Chuck Lorre. In 2015, he publicly revealed his HIV-positive status, sparking what has been termed the Charlie Sheen effect, which significantly increased public interest in HIV prevention and testing. Following Sheen's announcement, there was a remarkable surge in HIV-related Google searches in the U.S., with 2.75 million more searches than expected, particularly for terms related to public health outcomes like condoms and HIV testing. A study found that his disclosure led to a 95% increase in sales of over-the-counter home HIV testing kits. Sheen's impact on HIV education has been noted as more significant than many formal events, and he has since become a vocal advocate for HIV prevention, expressing his humility in serving the cause.
Get my skin checked and they found some skin cancer on me. I'm gonna be all good, everything's gonna be okay.
Behind the dazzling lights of Hollywood lies a hidden battle few expected: skin cancer. These stars, admired for their beauty and talent, suddenly found themselves facing a fight not for fame, but for life itself. From quiet scares to life-changing diagnoses, their stories reveal resilience, heartbreak, and powerful lessons in survival. Stay with us as we uncover the untold journeys of celebrities who turned pain into purpose. Khloe Kardashian. A battle beneath the spotlight. In 2022, Khloe Kardashian revealed a health scare that shook both her family and her fans. What she first thought was a stubborn pimple turned out to be far more serious. After 7 months without change, Khloe decided to have it checked, and the biopsy results came back with alarming news. Doctors confirmed she needed immediate surgery to remove a tumor from her face. This was not Khloe's first encounter with skin cancer. At just 19, she had melanoma removed from her back, an early warning that left her more aware of the risks. Despite being diligent with sunscreen and protective habits, this second diagnosis reminded her and the world that no one is completely safe. Instead of hiding her struggle, Khloe chose to speak out. She opened up on social media about her journey, urging her followers to take their skin health seriously. Her message was clear: don't ignore suspicious changes, schedule regular checkups, and protect your skin every single day. Khloe's courage transformed her scare into a mission of awareness. By sharing her story, she reminded millions that early detection saves lives and that even celebrities are not immune to life's toughest battles. Her resilience, honesty, and determination turned a frightening chapter into an inspiring lesson of strength. Kevin Jonas, a quiet scare with a powerful message. In June 2024, Kevin Jonas, the beloved Jonas Brothers star, opened up about something far more personal than music. Lying calmly in a doctor's chair, he recorded a short video for fans, pointing to a small growth on his forehead. What he revealed stunned many, It was basal cell carcinoma, a common but potentially serious form of skin cancer. Kevin's decision to share his diagnosis publicly was more than just an update. It was a wake-up call. At only 37, a husband and father of 2, he reminded the world that skin cancer doesn't discriminate. Celebrity or not, young or old, everyone is at risk. His openness turned a private scare into a public lesson about awareness and early detection. With humility and courage, Kevin urged fans to pay attention to their bodies, never ignore unusual spots, and always protect your skin with sunscreen. For someone who grew up in the spotlight, this moment showed his evolution from teen idol to family man and advocate for self-care. Kevin's story isn't just about facing cancer. It's about responsibility, awareness, and the strength to use his platform for good. He proved that sometimes the quietest voices deliver the loudest message: protect your skin, because prevention can save lives. Teddi Mellencamp, turning fear into awareness. Teddi Mellencamp, best known from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, has faced an ongoing battle that goes far beyond reality TV drama. Over the years, she has had more than a dozen melanomas removed, with her most recent diagnosis coming in September 25, 23. What started as a routine checkup quickly became another life-altering reminder when doctors confirmed a new melanoma. The news shook her. She admitted to sleepless nights, fearing the unknown and wondering what might come next. Yet, thanks to her diligence with 3-month screenings, the cancer was caught early, a decision that may have saved her life. For someone known to be organized and in control, the unpredictability of skin cancer forced her to confront vulnerability in a way she never expected. Instead of letting fear silence her, Teddi chose to use her platform for good. She has openly documented her journey on social media, encouraging her followers to get checked and never take their skin health for granted. Every time she posts, countless fans schedule their own appointments, a ripple effect that proves how powerful her honesty can be. Her story is not only one of resilience, but also a wake-up call. By transforming her personal struggle into a mission, Teddi has become a voice for awareness, reminding everyone that early detection and vigilance truly matter. Richard Simmons, a fighter's honest battle. In March 2024, fitness legend Richard Simmons, long known for his boundless energy and larger-than-life personality, shared a deeply personal struggle with fans. Posting on Facebook, he revealed that a strange bump beneath his right eye had been diagnosed as basal cell carcinoma. What followed was not the colorful world of aerobics tapes and laughter, but a painful series of treatments to burn away the cancer cells. Simmons described the experience with his trademark honesty. He admitted the burning hurt badly, and when the first procedure wasn't enough, he had to return for more. Yet even in those moments, he faced it with courage, saying he didn't cry the second time. He simply gritted his teeth and kept going. His candid words resonated with fans who had always seen him as a source of joy, now finding inspiration in his vulnerability. More than just a health update, Simmons's openness became a reminder that no one is immune. He urged his followers to take skin health seriously, to listen to their instincts, and to never delay seeing a doctor when something feels off. For a man who once helped millions find strength in fitness, he is now helping them find strength in awareness. Christie Brinkley, a supermodel's wake-up call. In March 2024, iconic supermodel Christie Brinkley, forever admired for her radiant smile and timeless beauty, revealed a health scare that reminded fans beauty isn't just skin deep. She shared that doctors had discovered and removed a basal cell carcinoma from her face. With her signature mix of wit and grace, she joked that her surgeons stitched her up like a custom Dior gown, but beneath the humor was a serious message. Christie admitted she had waited a little too long before getting the spot checked, something she now regrets. From that moment on, she became fiercely committed to sun protection. SPF 30, reapplying like clockwork, long sleeves and wide-brimmed hats became her new normal. Using her platform, she urged fans not to ignore even the smallest changes on their skin and never to take sun safety lightly. For someone who has spent decades under bright lights and cameras, Christie's willingness to show vulnerability turned her story into a powerful lesson. Her honesty proved that even supermodels can face health battles, and that early detection is everything. Ewan McGregor, strength behind the spotlight. In 2008, Hollywood star Ewan McGregor, famous for his unforgettable roles in Trainspotting, Moulin Rouge, and as Obi-Wan Kenobi, revealed a health scare that reminded fans he's human behind the lightsabers and fame. During a routine checkup, doctors discovered 2 suspicious moles on his face, one dangerously close to his eye. They were removed immediately, and the biopsy confirmed what he hadn't expected: skin cancer. For McGregor, the diagnosis was a shock. Known for his adventurous spirit and rugged charm, he had spent years under harsh lighting on set and countless hours outdoors without much thought for sun protection. Facing surgery near his eye was sobering, a moment of quiet vulnerability for a man admired worldwide for his strength on screen. Thankfully, the cancer was caught early and McGregor recovered. But he didn't keep the experience to himself. Instead, he used it as a chance to remind others that no one is immune, not even the most celebrated stars. His story turned into a message about vigilance, self-checks, and the importance of protecting your skin. Jimmy Buffett, the final song. In 2023, the world lost Jimmy Buffett, the beloved singer who gave us Margaritaville and a soundtrack to endless summers. What many fans didn't know was that behind the tropical shirts and laid-back anthems, Buffett was quietly fighting Merkel cell carcinoma, a rare and aggressive form of skin cancer. Diagnosed around 2019, he chose to keep his battle private, continuing to perform and spread joy for as long as he could. As the illness progressed, Buffett was forced to cancel shows, a heartbreaking decision for a man who lived to entertain. His sister later revealed how deeply it pained him not to be on stage, giving his fans the escape and happiness they always found in his music. Even in his final months, his spirit remained the same, warm, hopeful, and filled with gratitude for the life he had lived. Buffett's passing was more than the loss of a music icon. It was a reminder that no one, no matter how joyful or full of life, is untouched by health battles. Yet his legacy continues, not just in his songs, but in the lifestyle he created, a call to embrace joy, love, and every moment under the sun, while remembering to protect yourself along the way. Ninja, Richard Tyler Blevins, a gamer's reality check. In March 2024, Richard Tyler Blevins, better known to millions as Ninja, shared a shocking and personal update with fans. At just 32 years old, the gaming superstar revealed that doctors had diagnosed him with melanoma, a dangerous form of skin cancer. The discovery came after his wife urged him to get a mole on the bottom of his foot checked. What seemed small turned out to be life-changing. Doctors quickly removed the mole, along with a nearby suspicious spot, and thankfully, the cancer appeared to be caught in its early stages. Ninja admitted he was still processing the news, but he refused to stay silent. Instead, he went public immediately, using his massive platform to turn his personal scare into a wake-up call for millions of young fans who may never have thought about skin health. For a man known for building worlds on screen, this was a battle grounded in reality. His message was simple but urgent. Don't wait, don't ignore, and don't assume you're too young to be at risk. By being open and vulnerable, Ninja transformed his diagnosis into a powerful reminder that health comes first, even in a world where digital lives often take center stage. Melanie Griffith, a veteran's wake-up call. Hollywood veteran Melanie Griffith has always been admired for her beauty and resilience, but in 2018, she revealed a personal battle that reminded everyone that even stars aren't invincible. After noticing a suspicious spot on her nose, doctors confirmed it was basal cell carcinoma, one of the most common yet serious forms of skin cancer. She underwent treatment, which included surgery and dermabrasion, leaving her nose visibly bandaged in a candid selfie she later shared on Instagram. Instead of hiding, Griffith used her platform to raise awareness. She openly admitted she had underestimated the sun in her younger years, often skipping protection, never imagining the damage would resurface decades later. Her honesty struck a chord with fans who grew up with the same carefree mindset about tanning and sun exposure. Griffith's story became more than a personal scare. It turned into a public message about vigilance and prevention. She reminded everyone that health is not something to take for granted and urged her followers to wear sunscreen, get regular checkups, and never ignore unusual changes on their skin. Her bravery in sharing such a vulnerable moment turned a private struggle into a lesson that could save lives. Andy Roddick, from tennis ace to skin cancer advocate. Former U.S. Open champion Andy Roddick shocked fans in May 2024 when he revealed on his podcast Served that he has been privately battling skin cancer since retiring from professional tennis in 2012. Known for his fierce serve and relentless determination on the court, Roddick admitted that years of playing under the blazing sun without proper protection eventually caught up with him. He shared that several suspicious spots had been removed over the years, including a squamous cell carcinoma on his lip, something he had never spoken about publicly until now. Recent redness on his face, which many fans noticed, was the result of ongoing treatments to repair sun-damaged skin. True to his no-nonsense personality, Roddick was clear he wasn't looking for sympathy. Instead, he wanted to use his story to sound the alarm about sun safety, especially for young athletes constantly exposed to the elements. Roddick's candidness was both sobering and inspiring. He urged parents to protect their kids early, stressing that sunscreen and regular checkups aren't optional, they're essential. For a man once celebrated for his power and precision on the court, his toughest match turned out to be off the court, protecting himself and raising awareness so others might avoid the same battle. Diane Keaton, a lifelong battle in the spotlight. Beloved actress Diane Keaton, known for her timeless charm and iconic roles, has faced a fight far more personal than any Hollywood script. In a 2015 interview, she revealed she is a two-time skin cancer survivor, with her first diagnosis coming at just 21 years old. For Keaton, the disease runs in the family. Her father, brother, and even her aunt all battled severe forms of skin cancer. She admitted that in her youth, she rarely thought about sun protection. Like many, she chased the perfect tan, unaware of the long-term risks. It wasn't until her 40s that Keaton made sunscreen and skincare non-negotiable. Today, she never leaves home without SPF and has become a strong voice encouraging others to take their skin health seriously. Her story is one of resilience and awareness. Despite her glamorous career, Keaton has never shied away from showing her vulnerabilities. By sharing her own mistakes and survival, she reminds fans that it's never too early or too late to protect yourself. Her honesty turns a private battle into a powerful lesson about vigilance, prevention, and the courage to confront reality head-on. Andy Cohen, a wake-up call on his lip. In 2020, TV host and producer Andy Cohen shared a health scare that caught both fans and friends by surprise. A small, dark spot appeared on his lip, something he brushed off until close friend Kelly Ripa urged him to see a doctor. Her instincts were right. The spot was malignant melanoma, one of the most serious forms of skin cancer. For Cohen, who had spent years enjoying the sun and chasing the perfect tan, the diagnosis was a turning point. He admitted that he had often underestimated the dangers of UV exposure, but this time, reality hit hard. Thankfully, the cancer was detected early and treated successfully, but the experience changed his perspective on health forever. True to his candid personality, Cohen went public with his story, using his platform to warn others not to ignore even the smallest changes on their skin. He emphasized that skin cancer can appear in unexpected places and that listening to those who care about you can truly save your life. His honesty turned a private scare into a public lesson, reminding fans that prevention and early detection are everything. For Cohen, the scar on his lip isn't just a mark, it's a badge of survival and a message to everyone. Don't wait, get checked. Hugh Jackman, the Wolverine's real-life battle. Hugh Jackman, adored worldwide for his role as Wolverine, has faced an ongoing fight that no superhero claws could defeat: skin cancer. Since 2013, he has undergone multiple procedures to remove basal cell carcinomas, a form of skin cancer linked to years of sun exposure. Growing up in Australia, where the sun's rays are especially harsh, Jackman admitted he rarely wore sunscreen as a child, a choice he now calls one of his biggest mistakes. Despite his health struggles, Jackman has been remarkably open with fans. In April 2023, after another round of biopsies, he shared with relief that the results were negative. But instead of keeping his story private, he used the moment.
Get my skin checked and they found some skin cancer on me. I'm gonna be all good, everything's gonna be okay.
Behind the dazzling lights of Hollywood lies a hidden battle few expected: skin cancer. These stars, admired for their beauty and talent, suddenly found themselves facing a fight not for fame, but for life itself. From quiet scares to life-changing diagnoses, their stories reveal resilience, heartbreak, and powerful lessons in survival. Stay with us as we uncover the untold journeys of celebrities who turned pain into purpose. Khloe Kardashian, a battle beneath the spotlight. In 2022, Khloe Kardashian revealed a health scare that shook both her family and her fans. What she first thought was a stubborn pimple turned out to be far more serious. After 7 months without change, Khloe decided to have it checked, and the biopsy results came back with alarming news. Doctors confirmed she needed immediate surgery to remove a tumor from her face. This was not Khloe's first encounter with skin cancer. At just 19, she had melanoma removed from her back, an early warning that left her more aware of the risks. Despite being diligent with sunscreen and protective habits, this second diagnosis reminded her and the world that no one is completely safe. Instead of hiding her struggle, Khloe chose to speak out. She opened up on social media about her journey, urging her followers to take their skin health seriously. Her message was clear: don't ignore suspicious changes, schedule regular checkups, and protect your skin every single day. Khloe's courage transformed her scare into a mission of awareness. By sharing her story, she reminded millions that early detection saves lives and that even celebrities are not immune to life's toughest battles. Her resilience, honesty, and determination turned a frightening chapter into an inspiring lesson of strength. Kevin Jonas, a quiet scare with a powerful message. In June 2024, Kevin Jonas, the beloved Jonas Brothers star, opened up about something far more personal than music. Lying calmly in a doctor's chair, he recorded a short video for fans, pointing to a small growth on his forehead. What he revealed stunned many. It was basal cell carcinoma, a common but potentially serious form of skin cancer. Kevin's decision to share his diagnosis publicly was more than just an update. It was a wake-up call. At only 37, a husband and father of 2, he reminded the world that skin cancer doesn't discriminate. Celebrity or not, young or old, everyone is at risk. His openness turned a private scare into a public lesson about awareness and early detection. With humility and courage, Kevin urged fans to pay attention to their bodies, never ignore unusual spots, and always protect your skin with sunscreen. For someone who grew up in the spotlight, this moment showed his evolution from teen idol to family man and advocate for self-care. Kevin's story isn't just about facing cancer. It's about responsibility, awareness, and the strength to use his platform for good. He proved that sometimes the quietest voices deliver the loudest message: protect your skin, because prevention can save lives. Teddi Mellencamp, turning fear into awareness. Teddi Mellencamp, best known from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, has faced an ongoing battle that goes far beyond reality TV drama. Over the years, she has had more than a dozen melanomas removed, with her most recent diagnosis coming in September 25, 2023. What started as a routine checkup quickly became another life-altering reminder when doctors confirmed a new melanoma. The news shook her. She admitted to sleepless nights, fearing the unknown and wondering what might come next. Yet thanks to her diligence with 3-month screenings, the cancer was caught early, a decision that may have saved her life. For someone known to be organized and in control, the unpredictability of skin cancer forced her to confront vulnerability in a way she never expected. Instead of letting fear silence her, Teddi chose to use her platform for good. She has openly documented her journey on social media, encouraging her followers to get checked and never take their skin health for granted. Every time she posts, countless fans schedule their own appointments, a ripple effect that proves how powerful her honesty can be. Her story is not only one of resilience, but also a wake-up call. By transforming her personal struggle into a mission, Teddi has become a voice for awareness, reminding everyone that early detection and vigilance truly matter. Richard Simmons, a fighter's honest battle. In March 2024, fitness legend Richard Simmons, long known for his boundless energy and larger-than-life personality, shared a deeply personal struggle with fans. Posting on Facebook, he revealed that a strange bump beneath his right eye had been diagnosed as basal cell carcinoma. What followed was not the colorful world of aerobics tapes and laughter, but a painful series of treatments to burn away the cancer cells. Simmons described the experience with his trademark honesty. He admitted the burning hurt badly, and when the first procedure wasn't enough, he had to return for more. Yet even in those moments, he faced it with courage, saying he didn't cry the second time. He simply gritted his teeth and kept going. His candid words resonated with fans who had always seen him as a source of joy, now finding inspiration in his vulnerability. More than just a health update, Simmons's openness became a reminder that no one is immune. He urged his followers to take skin health seriously, to listen to their instincts, and to never delay seeing a doctor when something feels off. For a man who once helped millions find strength in fitness, he is now helping them find strength in awareness. Christie Brinkley, a supermodel's wake-up call. In March 2024, iconic supermodel Christie Brinkley, forever admired for her radiant smile and timeless beauty, revealed a health scare that reminded fans beauty isn't just skin deep. She shared that doctors had discovered and removed a basal cell carcinoma from her face. With her signature mix of wit and grace, she joked that her surgeons stitched her up like a custom Dior gown, but beneath the humor was a serious message. Christie admitted she had waited a little too long before getting the spot checked, something she now regrets. From that moment on, she became fiercely committed to sun protection, SPF 30, reapplying like clockwork. Long sleeves and wide-brimmed hats became her new normal. Using her platform, she urged fans not to ignore even the smallest changes on their skin and never to take sun safety lightly. For someone who has spent decades under bright lights and cameras, Christie's willingness to show vulnerability turned her story into a powerful lesson. Her honesty proved that even supermodels can face health battles, and that early detection is everything. Ewan McGregor, strength behind the spotlight. In 2008, Hollywood star Ewan McGregor, famous for his unforgettable roles in Trainspotting, Moulin Rouge, and as Obi-Wan Kenobi, revealed a health scare that reminded fans he's human behind the lightsabers and fame. During a routine checkup, doctors discovered 2 suspicious moles on his face, one dangerously close to his eye. They were removed immediately, and the biopsy confirmed what he hadn't expected: skin cancer. For McGregor, the diagnosis was a shock. Known for his adventurous spirit and rugged charm, he had spent years under harsh lighting on set and countless hours outdoors without much thought for sun protection. Facing surgery near his eye was sobering, a moment of quiet vulnerability for a man admired worldwide for his strength on screen. Thankfully, the cancer was caught early and McGregor recovered. But he didn't keep the experience to himself. Instead, he used it as a chance to remind others that no one is immune, not even the most celebrated stars. His story turned into a message about vigilance, self-checks, and the importance of protecting your skin. Jimmy Buffett, the final song. In 2023, the world lost Jimmy Buffett, the beloved singer who gave us Margaritaville and a soundtrack to endless summers. What many fans didn't know was that behind the tropical shirts and laid-back anthems, Buffett was quietly fighting Merkel cell carcinoma, a rare and aggressive form of skin cancer. Diagnosed around 2019, he chose to keep his battle private, continuing to perform and spread joy for as long as he could. As the illness progressed, Buffett was forced to cancel shows, a heartbreaking decision for a man who lived to entertain. His sister later revealed how deeply it pained him not to be on stage, giving his fans the escape and happiness they always found in his music. Even in his final months, his spirit remained the same, warm, hopeful, and filled with gratitude for the life he had lived. Buffett's passing was more than the loss of a music icon. It was a reminder that no one, no matter how joyful or full of life, is untouched by health battles. Yet his legacy continues, not just in his songs, but in the lifestyle he created, a call to embrace joy, love, and every moment under the sun, while remembering to protect yourself along the way. Ninja, Richard Tyler Blevins, a gamer's reality check. In March 2024, Richard Tyler Blevins, better known to millions as Ninja, shared a shocking and personal update with fans. At just 32 years old, the gaming superstar revealed that doctors had diagnosed him with melanoma, a dangerous form of skin cancer. The discovery came after his wife urged him to get a mole on the bottom of his foot checked. What seemed small turned out to be life-changing. Doctors quickly removed the mole, along with a nearby suspicious spot, and thankfully, the cancer appeared to be caught in its early stages. Ninja admitted he was still processing the news, but he refused to stay silent. Instead, he went public immediately, using his massive platform to turn his personal scare into a wake-up call for millions of young fans who may never have thought about skin health. For a man known for building worlds on screen, this was a battle grounded in reality. His message was simple but urgent. Don't wait, don't ignore, and don't assume you're too young to be at risk. By being open and vulnerable, Ninja transformed his diagnosis into a powerful reminder that health comes first, even in a world where digital lives often take center stage. Melanie Griffith, a veteran's wake-up call. Hollywood veteran Melanie Griffith has always been admired for her beauty and resilience, but in 2018, she revealed a personal battle that reminded everyone that even stars aren't invincible. After noticing a suspicious spot on her nose, doctors confirmed it was basal cell carcinoma, one of the most common yet serious forms of skin cancer. She underwent treatment, which included surgery and dermabrasion, leaving her nose visibly bandaged in a candid selfie she later shared on Instagram. Instead of hiding, Griffith used her platform to raise awareness. She openly admitted she had underestimated the sun in her younger years, often skipping protection, never imagining the damage would resurface decades later. Her honesty struck a chord with fans who grew up with the same carefree mindset about tanning and sun exposure. Griffith's story became more than a personal scare. It turned into a public message about vigilance and prevention. She reminded everyone that health is not something to take for granted and urged her followers to wear sunscreen, get regular checkups, and never ignore unusual changes on their skin. Her bravery in sharing such a vulnerable moment turned a private struggle into a lesson that could save lives. Andy Roddick, from tennis ace to skin cancer advocate. Former U.S. Open champion Andy Roddick shocked fans in May 2024 when he revealed on his podcast Served that he has been privately battling skin cancer since retiring from professional tennis in 2012. Known for his fierce serve and relentless determination on the court, Roddick admitted that years of playing under the blazing sun without proper protection eventually caught up with him. He shared that several suspicious spots had been removed over the years, including a squamous cell carcinoma on his lip, something he had never spoken about publicly until now. Recent redness on his face, which many fans noticed, was the result of ongoing treatments to repair sun-damaged skin. True to his no-nonsense personality, Roddick was clear he wasn't looking for sympathy. Instead, he wanted to use his story to sound the alarm about sun safety, especially for young athletes constantly exposed to the elements. Roddick's candidness was both sobering and inspiring. He urged parents to protect their kids early, stressing that sunscreen and regular checkups aren't optional, they're essential. For a man once celebrated for his power and precision on the court, his toughest match turned out to be off the court, protecting himself and raising awareness so others might avoid the same battle. Diane Keaton, a lifelong battle in the spotlight. Beloved actress Diane Keaton, known for her timeless charm and iconic roles, has faced a fight far more personal than any Hollywood script. In a 2015 interview, she revealed she is a two-time skin cancer survivor, with her first diagnosis coming at just 21 years old. For Keaton, the disease runs in the family. Her father, brother, and even her aunt all battled severe forms of skin cancer. She admitted that in her youth, she rarely thought about sun protection. Like many, she chased the perfect tan, unaware of the long-term risks. It wasn't until her 40s that Keaton made sunscreen and skincare non-negotiable. Today, she never leaves home without SPF and has become a strong voice encouraging others to take their skin health seriously. Her story is one of resilience and awareness. Despite her glamorous career, Keaton has never shied away from showing her vulnerabilities. By sharing her own mistakes and survival, she reminds fans that it's never too early or too late to protect yourself. Her honesty turns a private battle into a powerful lesson about vigilance, prevention, and the courage to confront reality head-on. Andy Cohen,